subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
C. Sardinia. After coming out of the foggy space, Su Mo returned to a familiar environment. Airport. It is different from Su Mo, who traveled to the fairy tale world since he was a child. Su Mo from the world of god killers was transported back in time in a daze. And it has only been a few days since then. It's a foreign country just after traveling through time. I don't have any money yet. If I hadn't awakened the golden finger quickly and then hugged myself in other worlds, maybe these days he would have to sleep on the street like a homeless man. The person in the Tiga world is proficient in multiple languages, while the person in the fairy tale world is very good at fighting. Relying on their abilities, Su Mo did not use magic rashly, but chose to wait and see carefully. Facts have proved that his choice was very correct. When he learned the name of this city, he had some guesses in his mind. After another search on the internet, he found that natural disasters occurred far more frequently in this world than in the world in his previous life. In addition, there are often reports of natural disasters near Sardinia these days. After specially visiting the places affected by natural disasters, Su Mo was very sure that those natural disasters were just excuses for the outside world. Perhaps for ordinary people, they cannot see it and can only see raging thunderstorms or strong winds. But for Su Mo, who possesses magical power, the figure of the mythical beast is very clear. Soon, he determined that the world he was in was the world of god killers. Gods will descend to the underworld in disobedient bodies and cause all kinds of harm on earth. Among humans, there are occasionally overlords who can kill gods as humans. Killing a god for the first time is often luck, but after killing a god successfully, humans can be reincarnated as god killers and gain the power of gods. It is not an exaggeration to say that he has reached the sky in one step. Su Mo has been coveting the power of the god killer for a long time. Now he finally gained the power to kill gods. Naturally, he would not miss this great opportunity. Emergency notice: a tornado suddenly occurred within 5 kilometers of the airport. Passengers, please stay indoors and do not go out. An emergency announcement came from the loudspeaker nearby, informing all passengers to take shelter. When I looked up, the sky was getting darker visibly. Not because it was night, but because dark clouds completely covered the sky. The wind howled and knocked down the trees. The sudden tornado made everyone panic. Even the citizens who never liked to obey notices. In this extremely bad weather, I had to hide indoors and did not dare to go out at all. Wind. Su Mo, who is familiar with the original work, naturally knows. The recent celestial changes are all caused by the god of disobedience, Velislana. 2 disobedient gods in the lower realm, Velislana and Mekr, had a fight. Velislana's godhead was shattered and turned into 10 clones scattered across the earth. The storm in front of him should be one of the 10 incarnations of Velislana. I remember the tornado disaster occurred 2 days ago and then subsided. Su Mo touched his chin and analyzed. That time, Velislana should have recovered the wind avatar, and this time the tornado appears again. It should be Velislana who is controlling the wind avatar to recover other incarnations. Velislana, who was broken into 10 parts, now naturally wants to reintegrate his power. However, the escaped clones will not be obedient and require a battle to recover them. The natural disaster that suddenly occurred in front of him should be the aftermath of the battle between Velislana and his incarnation. After judging this, Su Mo immediately made a decision. Against the flow of people, he walked towards the direction of the strongest storm. The security guard maintaining order near the airport was about to shout out to dissuade the desperate passenger. However, it was just a blink of an eye. The figure not far away completely disappeared. The security guard rubbed his eyes, wondering if he had seen an hallucination or a ghost. Thinking of this, he shuddered. 5 kilometers away from the airport, Su Mo, who turned into a beam of light, arrived here in an instant. The residents here have been evacuated. The original residential buildings have been destroyed into ruins. On top of the ruins, a huge black wild boar, 20 meters tall, was roaring toward the sky. 1 pig, 2 bears, and 3 tigers. Wild boars are rough-skinned, thick flesh, and quite ferocious animals. The beast-level wild boar in front of him is extremely violent. Just by looking at its posture, you can feel the irrepressible anger. The green-faced and fanged mythical beast wild boar opened its bloody mouth. The huge magic power condensed into a ball in the mouth of the mythical beast boar. Then, the wild boar roared. An unparalleled shock wave erupted from the mouth. The shock wave was like a cannonball, splitting open the ground and buildings in front of the mythical beast boar, and then hit the tornado that was encircling him head-on. The shock wave of the wild boar incarnation and the battle with the wind incarnation ended with all the buildings in the surrounding area being damaged. It's really a scary monster. Su Mo sighed. Compared with the mythical wild boar, Eudeos, the LV6 floor master in the earthly world, is as fragile as a statue, although they have similar body shapes. But compared to the strength, the mythical beast wild boar completely crushed the opponent. Perhaps one impact is enough to completely crush the opponent. 0-30, it's just a mythical beast, but it's pretty strong when it comes to flipping hands. Of course it's scary. This is a mythical beast. A girl's voice came from behind Su Mo. A blonde girl wearing a gorgeous red dress and a sharp sword hanging from her waist fell from the sky and landed lightly. Apparently, he jumped from a nearby floor. Since you can see that big guy, it means you are also a magician, but you don't look like someone from our local magic association. Looking at Su Mo's black hair and black eyes, the blonde girl narrowed her eyes and a trace of suspicion flashed in her blue pupils. Chapter 22, a strange magician who stayed in the field where the beast was rampant. Let me ask you, that big guy was not summoned by you, right? The girl asked the strange magician in front of her and put her hand on the hilt of the sword at her waist, ready to fight if the other party admitted it. If the other party is really the criminal who summoned the beast, then she has caught the culprit directly. Even if the other party denies it, she still feels suspicious, to be honest. This timing is too coincidental. Su Mo didn't care much about being mistaken for the suspect who summoned the beast, but glanced at the girl in front of him. Who are you? He had already guessed the girl's identity in his heart, but he still needed to confirm it. Erica Brauntree, the great knight of the Magic Society Red Copper Black Cross. The girl named Erica reported her name uprightly. Let's make it clear in advance that if you are really the criminal, you can be treated leniently if you confess now. The girl smiled like a fox and persuaded. If there really is a criminal who believes this and tells all about his affairs, he will probably immediately realize the evil of the world. Unfortunately, this little trick is useless to Su Mo. Not to mention, this incident has nothing to do with him. Unfortunately, you suspect the wrong person. This incident has nothing to do with me. Su Mo spread his hands and looked at the mythical beast wild boar in the distance. Although, I do plan to get involved now. Oh. Hearing this, Erica looked very surprised. You mean you also want to deal with the mythical beast? Then, without waiting for Su Mo to answer, Erica immediately shook her head. Sorry, I don't have the habit of joining forces with others. Besides, as a knight protecting Italy, I can't just leave this mythical beast alone. Seeing that the mythical beast was destroying more and more buildings, Erica was obviously a little anxious. Even if the crowd had been evacuated, the economic value of those buildings was still sky high. Sorry, please stay here for a while. Don't worry, my uncle has fought against several mythical beasts. Although I haven't reached his level yet, it shouldn't be a problem to deal with one. With that, Erica didn't wait for Su Mo's response and directly activated the magic, Hermes' boots. Like a light bird, Erica instantly jumped up to a building of dozens of floors and ran towards the mythical beast, the wild boar. Reinhardt. While running, the girl summoned her magic sword. She was ready for a hard fight. It's not that Erica really doesn't have the habit of joining forces with others. The reason why she rejected Su Mo was just because she didn't know his background. If you fight with teammates you can't trust in this level of battle, you must spend energy to guard against your teammates' betrayal, which is a way to die. Instead of this, it's better to fight alone. As one of the most famous geniuses in the magic world, Erica reached the rank of Grand Knight at the age of 16 and inherited the title of Crimson Devil. she can be said to be a real strong man. Because of this, Erica is very confident in her own strength. Although she knows that she has not reached the level of paladin now and is still a little behind her Uncle Paul. However, she does not think that this is an insurmountable gap, since her uncle can protect Princess Alice from 6 beasts. Then, as a niece, she must at least deal with 1 beast to be worthy of the title of Crimson Devil. Not to mention, she just made a bold statement in front of the strange magician. If she fails to subdue the beast, where will her face be? Thinking so, the young Erica rushed forward with an indomitable momentum. However, what she didn't know was, the wild boar now is not the incarnation of the beast that did not provoke anger and just existed ignorantly in the original book. Under the attack of the incarnation of wind just now, the incarnation of wild boar, who was tied with it, was directly enraged. An enraged wild boar is more than 3 times more ferocious than an ordinary wild boar. So, Erica bravely rushed up. Erica bravely drew out her long sword. Erica bravely chopped at the wild boar. However, she had not yet touched the body of the divine beast wild boar. Boom! The wild boar roared wildly, and the shock wave burst out of its mouth. The shock wave was wrapped in a storm and went out wantonly. Erica was directly blown away by the aftermath of the shock wave for hundreds of meters. Then, with a sound of "pa," she fell to the ground and rolled several times. Just when Erica finally got up from the ground and wanted to clean up the dust on her clothes. When she looked up, she saw a familiar figure in front of her. It was the magician who she had just made a bold statement to him. At this moment, this handsome magician with black hair and black eyes was looking at her with a strange look. Erica recalled the bold words she had just said. She couldn't help but blush and wish she could dig a crack in the ground and crawl into it. It was so embarrassing. 031 God's punishment on this wild boar. Embarrassing, visibly embarrassing. Just now, he was so imposing and powerful. I didn't expect it to be less than 20 seconds. Erica became the dusty and dirty look she is now. Forget about her previous arrogance and conceit. Now she is so ashamed that she wants to jump off the building. Are you okay? Fortunately, Su Mo is not a person who likes to mock beautiful girls. Not to mention that Erica also fights the beast to protect public property and out of the responsibility of a knight. Su Mo does not think this is something that should be laughed at. He helped Erica, who was lying on the ground, up. I'm fine. Seeing Su Mo didn't speak, Erica said a little embarrassedly. I didn't expect that this beast is quite strong, although it is embarrassing. But since the other party was so considerate and didn't mention the previous incident, Erica was naturally willing to pretend that nothing happened. Although she was blown away for hundreds of meters, Erica was not hit directly by the shock wave, but was only disturbed by the aftermath, so her body was not injured. This wild boar is one of the incarnations of the Zoroastrian god of war. It can be regarded as a manifestation of power. Naturally, it is much stronger than ordinary beasts. Su Mo nodded and agreed with Erica's words. After hearing his words, Erica's expression became very unbelievable. The god of war of Zoroastrianism. You mean Velislana? You mean, this time it's not just the beasts that appear, but the god of disobedience? After hearing Su Mo's words, Erica's eyes became horrified. If it was her before, she still had some fantasies in her heart, thinking that with her own abilities and talents, she might be able to kill a god and become a god slayer. However, the previous battle with the wild boar, the beast, completely destroyed her self-confidence. It made her recognize the reality. Only then did Erica realize that her strength was far different from that of the beasts, not to mention that she was not in the same dimension as the god of disobedience. Why is it at this time? As if she had thought of something, Erica looked a little desperate. The Sword King has gone to Antarctica. The Nordic Wolf King is not here. The North American King is busy protecting the country on the West Coast, and there is no way to contact the others. None of the god slayers are here. The only ones who can fight against the god of disobedience are the god slayers. However, at this moment, no god slayer can be contacted. The Sword King who originally protected this area has gone to Antarctica, and it will be too late for him to come back. Thinking of this, Erica felt that this port city was probably doomed. If the situation gets worse, the entire island may sink. Su Mo didn't care about Erica's words. He looked around and felt a little strange. Logically, Velislana should have recovered this incarnation now. Why didn't he do anything just because the wind incarnation was defeated? Before Erica, he saw the scene where the wild boar incarnation defeated the wind incarnation. It was definitely Velislana's handiwork, since he was ready to take down the wild boar. Given his character, he would not stop just because the wind was defeated. After all, he was the god of war who symbolized victory. So how could he be willing to be defeated like this? No matter how brutal the wild boar incarnation was, it would not be a match for its master. If it was not that he could not win, could it be that that guy saw that Erica wanted to challenge the wild boar, so he deliberately left this incarnation unconquered? Su Mo could not help but guess so. Since ancient times, there have been legends that gods have given trials to humans and rewarded those who completed the trials. Su Mo was not very clear about the temperament of the gods, but if it was the god of war who was good at fighting, it would not be surprising to have such an idea. In other words, leaving the wild boar incarnation as a trial. Thinking of this, Su Mo smiled. Nothing is better than a try. Chapter 23, it is easy to judge whether your guess is correct. You just need to deal with the mythical beast in front of you. Even if the other party didn't mean it this way, if he wanted to gather 10 incarnations, he probably wouldn't be able to sit back and be conquered. Whatever the situation, Velislana hiding nearby can be forced out. Thinking of this, Su Mo immediately took action. Directly activating magic, the whole person turned into a beam of light. Wait, don't be impulsive. That mythical beast is very strong. Seeing Su Mo's actions, Erica couldn't guess what he was thinking and immediately wanted to dissuade him. However, with her speed, she couldn't stop Su Mo at all. In just a blink of an eye, Su Mo's figure disappeared and appeared next to the mythical beast boar. So fast, Erica noticed Su Mo's speed and her pupils suddenly tightened. The human body is directly transformed into light. This magic is very similar to the power of one of the god's layers, the Black Prince Alec, electric light and stone fire. It's just that the Black Prince Alec uses the power usurped from the gods, and he transforms into thunder and lightning. And this man used magic to turn into light. How on earth did this man come to possess this level of magic? While Erica was shocked, she also had some expectations in her heart. If you were a strong man of this level, maybe not far away, after moving in front of the mythical beast wild boar, the wild boar gathered energy and once again spit out a shock wave that could destroy the mountain. Although it is not as powerful as the time when I wrestled with Wind Avatar, it is stronger than Erica's time. The shock wave enveloped the entire area around Su Mo. It was obvious that he was preparing to attack the entire area and was not prepared to let Su Mo escape. However, Su Mo had no plans to escape. Before the shock wave came, he directly constructed a defensive technique. 3 pillars of God, a huge magic array opened under his feet, and 3 columnar magic arrays protected everything within the array. The shock wave blasted a huge crater into the nearby ground. The defense of the 3 pillar gods began to show cracks, but it was obvious that it could still hold on for a while. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Su Mo didn't hesitate, clasped his hands together, and opened it up. Fairy Law! A magic circle of tens of meters appeared in the sky, and the dazzling sunshine briefly dispelled the haze. The battle between the Holy Ten is enough to affect the celestial phenomena. What is happening now proves the truth of this statement. The sacred and dazzling light fell from the sky, like a sharp arrow, punishing the huge wild boar in front of him that destroyed half of the city. For those who don't know, they think this is God punishing monsters who do evil things. However, only magicians like Erica understand. Quite the opposite is true. The scene before us is actually human beings rebelling against gods. 032, the war god of Zoroastrianism, after the light dissipates. The figure of the mythical beast boar suddenly collapsed and fell to the ground. It's really in the distance. Erica's eyes widened when she saw this scene. Her beautiful eyes filled with disbelief. Although she had thought of this possibility in her mind, Erica never imagined that this divine beast which she could not even get close to, would be instantly killed by another magician with one move. This is outrageous. Even paladins like his uncle St. Paul or St. Raphael don't have this level of strength. Could this man be an extremely rare kind of holy magician? Or is it some newly promoted god killer? On Su Mo. Looking at the fallen wild boar in front of him, he didn't look happy. Just a hint of surprise. You didn't even die like this? Yes, after taking a shot of fairy law. Although the wild boar had collapsed weakly, it had not lost its vitality. As expected of a divine beast, its magic resistance and vitality are really strong. Although the mythical wild boar's current posture does not have much power to fight back, it will not be difficult for Su Mo to kill it if he continues to attack. But you must know that the vitality of wild boars is not outstanding among mythical beasts. Divine beasts like dragons and snakes are the existences with the strongest vitality. If his opponent were a divine beast such as a dragon or a snake, Su Mo doubted that even one of his fairy's law shots would be able to cause too serious damage. No wonder in the original novel, Makarov never thought of using this move against the black dragon Awaken. I must know it's useless. And with the dragon snake's immortality, even if it is injured, it may recover in the blink of an eye. Thinking like this, Su Mo didn't rush to hit the sacred beast wild boar. But he suddenly said loudly, "You still refuse to show up?" The military god of Zoroastrianism shouldn't be a guy who likes to hide his head and show his tail, right? The words just fell. Following a wisp of wind, the figure of a young man appeared in front of Su Mo. Is it to this extent? The boy with purple hair and golden eyes shining with divine light said with a slightly helpless tone, "I specifically left you time so that you could kill your prey and boast about your achievements. There is no doubt about it. This boy is the god of disobedience, the Zoroastrian military god Velislana himself. So, this is really a trial?" Hearing this, Su Mo couldn't help but complain. But now is a modern society, not an ancient society. There is no longer a ritual of using the enemy's head to show one's bravery. It's really a pity that so many excellent rituals have not been passed down. Velislana shook his head, obviously feeling a little pity, sincerely. It was a custom in the age of gods to display the prey you hunted everywhere. You really don't feel bad. Su Mo glanced pitifully at the wild boar next to him. Isn't this one of your incarnations willing to be destroyed like this? Hearing this, Velislana became serious. Since it is a trial, even though it is the result of a whim, as a god, you have to withstand all possibilities of the trial. It would be too shameless to go back on your promise, although this will cost you an incarnation. But compared to the mere power of incarnation, Velislana is the type who values battle etiquette and godly spirit more. If you don't even dare to accept the loss of a mere divine beast, what qualifications do you have to impose a test on humans? Su Mo admired Velislana's courage very much, as expected of the god of war. After praising him, he immediately climbed up the pole. Since it is a trial, the gods should reward those who pass the trial, right? That's natural. Velislana nodded. But before that, you should kill the wild boar completely and complete the ritual. He is not the stingy type, but he pays special attention to fighting etiquette. As long as Su Mo takes action to kill the sacred beast wild boar, he will naturally not break his promise and will give corresponding rewards. To Velislana, the request couldn't be simpler. The mythical beast boar has lost most of its vitality, and all it needs is a final blow. However, what he didn't expect was, "Must we kill the wild boar?" After Su Mo heard this, he immediately shook his head without hesitation. Then forget it. In his words, he actually wanted to give up this reward. Suddenly, Velislana became more interested in Su Mo. Originally, "I just came here to collect avatars, but I never expected to encounter such an interesting existence." "Why?" Velislana couldn't help but ask. "The magic power in your body should be enough to release the magic just now. It shouldn't be difficult to kill the wild boar." Regarding this question, Su Mo responded with a bright smile. "The reason is very simple. I heard that the god of disobedience does not seem to give power to those who have not completed the killing." The calm tone is like chatting between friends. But the content of the words shocked even Velislana, the disobedient god. Ha ha ha! The Zoroastrian war god laughed loudly. I see. Are you like those sons of fools, eyeing my life? Ha! Have a good time. I didn't expect to meet such a special human being like you before the decisive battle with Mekr. It seems that this trip to the lower realm is indeed worthwhile. 033, what a coincidence. You are also a warrior of light? The god of disobedience. Chapter 24 refers to the gods who defy mythology. In terms of power, the god of disobedience is no different from the gods in the divine realm. However, his own personality or pursuits may change. Velislana is the invincible god of war and victory. According to his godhood, he should be the type who likes to pursue victory and ravage the enemy. However, his disobedience is exactly the opposite of the myth. As the god of disobedience, Velislana went down to the world not to seek victory, but to seek defeat. The reason why he found Mekl was also for this reason. Of course, the defeat he wanted was a dignified defeat, not a defeat under the water. Otherwise, wouldn't it be more refreshing to surrender directly? The previous battle with Mekl was a loss for both sides, and this result surprised Velislana. He didn't expect that this Mediterranean god, king, actually had the strength to break his divine power into 10 parts. In addition to being surprised, Velislana began to collect his clones. He wanted to accumulate strength to complete the final battle with Mekl. However, he never expected that. When he recovered the last incarnation, Wild Boar, he would encounter another surprise. A magician with a good magic attainment, enough to make the gods shine, actually challenged him to kill the gods. After laughing wildly, the young god showed a bit of distress. One is the king of the gods, and the other is a courageous challenger. Both sides are very rare delicacies. Which side's battle should I respond to first? Just like a playful child seeing Transformers and Iron Man at the same time, it is really difficult to decide which toy he should buy with his pocket money first. For Velislana, both the king of the gods and the fool who wanted to kill the gods are rare opponents. Hearing his words, Su Mo smiled slightly and responded in a gentle tone. Don't bother so much. Anyway, you are about to return to the myth, and it's useless to care about these. Velislana was stunned. This was the first time he had seen a human being with such a big tone. If you only rely on the magic just now, you may be disappointed. That trick has no effect on gods. He thought that Su Mo only relied on the super magic just now. So he wanted to remind Su Mo. If the other party misjudged the strength of both sides, then this battle might not be as interesting as expected. Don't worry, I won't be stupid enough to think that gods are so easy to deal with. Su Mo shook his head. Velislana's eyes lit up, and his expression was a little surprised. In other words, you have other cards? It was too unexpected. With human power, being able to master such powerful magic is enough to be proud of. I didn't expect that the other party actually had a trump card to kill gods. You don't think I will tell you all the information before the battle? Su Mo didn't plan to say more. Even if Ultraman Tiga is very powerful, it would be too unwise to tell all his information. The power of gods is very changeable. Before successfully killing gods, you still need to be cautious. Hearing him say this, Velislana showed a fierce smile. Okay, since you want to fight to complete me, I will fulfill your wish. At this moment, the atmosphere suddenly changed. If before, there was still a relaxing atmosphere with a casual chat, then now, the atmosphere is instantly tense and full of murderous intent. As a god of war, Velislana will not underestimate any battle, not to mention that this time the enemy made him feel a little threatened. I am the strongest to catch all the victors. People and demons all enemies, defeat all hostile people. So I will break all the enemies blocking the way. The young god chanted the words to enhance the effect of the power, and a translucent golden sword appeared in his hand. This is the most special ability among the 10 incarnation powers. In the original work, Kusanagi Gadu was able to cheat because of this power. The golden sword is a weapon specially used to fight against gods, so it will not be used against Su Mo. The light, golden long sword easily drew a mark in the air. Swish! This is the sound of a sharp blade cutting through the skin. Bang! This is the sound of the divine beast wild boar falling to the ground completely. After the divine beast wild boar completely lost its ability to resist alone, its whole body turned into golden light spots and poured into Velaslana's body. Before the battle, Velaslana decided to follow Su Mo's request and take back his last incarnation first. After his strength was fully restored, Velaslana cast his eyes on Su Mo. "You crazy and rebellious person who wants to kill gods. Now I have recovered all my strength. If you want to defeat me, the god of war, then come with all your strength. I am Velaslana, the god of victory and war who fights to protect the light in Zoroastrianism, and the guardian of light warrior." Velaslana reported his name uprightly. "I will do my best." Su Mo responded without any hesitation. "My name is Su Mo. Although I don't have any great reputation in this world, it just so happens that I am also a warrior of light." With a slight smile, Su Mo raised his hand and started the transformation. "Let me show you the power of my warrior of light." Tiga, a dazzling light, suddenly burst out. A giant over 50 meters tall appeared on the earth. The red and blue body and the giant that people looked up to were as powerful as gods. 034 status reversal. The clown was actually me? A 50-meter-tall giant was not scary for Velaslana. In the age of gods, when he was still galloping on the earth in the name of the god of war, he had no idea how many giants he had dealt with. The god King Mekhl, who met before, was also a giant. If they wanted, many giant gods could raise their posture to 100 meters or even thousands of meters, far higher than 50 meters. But that would be meaningless. In the battle between gods, a body that was too huge would also bring a lot of inconvenience. Ordinary giants would only maintain a height of more than 10 meters, which was enough. The size of the giant in front of him did surprise him, but that was not the point. The point is the power contained in the body of the giant of light in front of him. Velaslana can clearly sense it. This giant has almost endless power of light in his body. Although most of it has not been discovered, the power of light that has been discovered is already superior to that of gods. Not to mention himself. Even the God King or several other gods combined may not have 1/10 of the power in this giant. Thinking back to what Su Mo said before, Velaslana couldn't help but doubt his life. Is this the power that a warrior of light can have? Velaslana glanced at Ultraman Tiga, who was full of majesty and looked more like a god than a god. Then he lowered his head and looked at himself, who was only the height of a teenager and held only a golden sword in his hand. He clearly felt the difference in the power of light contained in the two of them. Whether in quality or quantity, the other party was far superior to him. When he realized this, Velaslana, who had been arrogant towards Su Mo and thought he could win, couldn't help but look excited. He raised his head and looked at the sun above his head. "Lord Mitra, if he is a warrior of light, then what am I?" As the god of war and guardian of Zoroastrianism, Velaslana was originally a warrior serving the light. It can be said that the sun god Mitra is his direct superior. He originally thought that the power of light given to him by Mitra was already very powerful, but compared with the giant in front of him, it was completely a small witch compared to a big witch. If it weren't for the fact that the power contained in the other party's body far exceeded that of the gods, Velaslana would even suspect that the other party was a sun god from somewhere. As warriors of light, it's not embarrassing to have the same identity. Whoever is weak will be embarrassed, and it just so happened that Velaslana found that he was the weak one. So, although we are both warriors of light, but I am a warrior who serves light, and the other party is a warrior who manipulates light? After realizing this, Velaslana became even more embarrassed. Why does it feel that he, a god, is weaker than the other party in terms of identity? At this time, seeing that Velaslana had not attacked for a long time, Su Mo began to act. He didn't know what Velaslana was thinking, but he knew that he had to hurry up. After being strengthened in the Earth world, Su Mo's time to transform into Ultraman was extended a lot. However, compared with the battle at the god level, this time is still too short. Generally speaking, it is common for the battle between gods and godslayers to spend about a week on probing and fighting. And with Su Mo's current situation, it is only suitable for a quick battle. So, without much hesitation, Su Mo directly used the move that had defeated the monster Melba. Lampart Light Bullet. After charging, the blue-white arrow of light with extremely powerful explosive force blasted straight towards Velaslana. Chapter 25 for Tiga. This move is a light skill that sacrifices a little power in exchange for a high hit rate and speed. This move is only useful when facing those relatively fragile monsters. It is difficult to achieve success against monsters with slightly stronger defense. However, in the eyes of Velaslana, the power of the Lampart Light Bullet is completely different. So powerful. Velaslana's face was full of shock when he saw this light bullet. The torrent of light beams cut through the atmosphere like an arrow, and even the space was shaken. It was obviously just a move that was slightly charged and released casually, but it was comparable to the power of the sun god at full strength. Vast, scorching, terrible, unstoppable. After feeling this terrifying energy fluctuation, Velaslana instantly judged. He couldn't stop this move. Not only him, even if a god who is good at defense came, he probably couldn't stop it. This dazzling beam of light gathered and restrained a large amount of light together. Although it looked very simple and light, the power contained in it was enough to kill a god in seconds. Realizing this, Velaslana naturally would not choose to take it head-on. Fortunately, he had already prepared for the battle before. Phoenix Incarnation was activated, and the power of speed was immediately stimulated. Fear those with wings, evil people and powerful people. All fear me with wings. My wings will bring you curses. Evil people will not be able to hit me. The figure turned directly into light, and Velaslana chanted the word spirit to speed himself up. It was dangerous, and finally he barely avoided the attack of Lampart's light bullet, feeling the beam of light containing terrifying energy passing by himself. Even Velaslana couldn't help sweating on his back. It was terrible. This attack. 035, a battle with a huge gap after dodging the attack. Velaslana was palpitating and began to laugh out loud. Ha ha ha. Yes, that's right. That's it. Feeling the crisis of his life, hanging by a thread, he was not afraid but even more excited. Originally, he came to the lower world as a disobedient person just to find an enemy who could defeat him. Now he finally found the enemy he wanted, and the opponent also has an overwhelming power advantage. What else can make Velaslana happier than this? Even the previous battle with Mekl did not make Velaslana burst out with such enthusiasm. Although I don't know what kind of power it is, it's just right to be an enemy to challenge. Velaslana looked at the giant of light in front of him excitedly, and the fighting spirit in his heart began to boil. Now, he completely put himself in the lower position and put Ultraman Tiga in front of him in the upper position. He wanted to challenge this giant of light. And Su Mo naturally, he had no intention of stopping. He was familiar with Velaslana's power, so he naturally guessed that the opponent's Phoenix Incarnation could dodge. So, he still had a backhand. After seeing Velaslana dodge, Su Mo crossed his wrists to accumulate power, and then immediately stretched his arms in a punching posture. Shotgun beam. Hundreds of dense blue beams suddenly appeared in front of Ultraman Tiga. Like a shotgun, the blue beams directly covered Velaslana's position in the form of a barrage. The lethality of this skill is much lower than the previous Rampart Light Bullet, but the coverage area is larger. If the Rampart beam is to increase the hit rate at an extremely high speed, the shotgun beam is to increase the hit rate by shooting over a large range. However, with the power of the shotgun beam, it does not have the ability to kill with one shot. Generally, it can only restrict the enemy's activities and then use the big move to completely wipe it out. In Su Mo's view, this move can only be used as a diversion. Just thinking about being able to restrict Velaslana first and then use the beam skill to end it. However, in Velaslana's eyes, although this move was not enough to kill him instantly, it was definitely not enough to inflict damage he could bear. Once hit, he would be seriously injured at least, and this dense shotgun beam was obviously not something that could be avoided with the speed of the Phoenix. Even if it could be avoided for a while, it was impossible to avoid all the beams. So, after thinking about it, Velaslana immediately made a choice. Face it head-on. So, without dodging or avoiding, Velislana began to chant the word spirit. For victory, come to me quickly. Immortal sun, please grant me a shining steed. Spiritual horse with swift feet, bring the light wheel that symbolizes your lord. White horse incarnation with the ability to move the sun. After the word spirit was chanted, a second sun suddenly appeared in the sky. The blazing white horse, carrying the blazing sun, rushed directly towards a shotgun beam emitted by Su Mo. The sun wheel that could create explosions in the universe directly collided with the shotgun beam. Boom! Boom! The collision of light and the sun. The city instantly turned into a basin. The smoke and fire covered the center of the battlefield, making it difficult to see what was happening inside. However, with Tiga's eyesight, he would not be hindered by this level of dust. He could see everything under the basin clearly. Therefore, he could see clearly what Velislana was doing in the abyss. 3 seconds later, before the smoke and dust had dispersed, a dark blue figure rushed out from under the basin. It was the sacred beast wild boar. The boar rushed forward. The sacred beast wild boar was wrapped in dark blue flames, and its momentum was several times stronger than before. It seemed that it had been strengthened by Velislana. Roar! The sacred beast wild boar roared, brewing a long-accumulated shock wave in its mouth, and rushed straight towards Ultraman Tiga. It seemed that he wanted to knock Tiga to death in one breath. Facing such an offensive, Su Mo smiled slightly. He naturally would not fail to notice Velislana's plan. Although the offensive of the sacred beast wild boar was huge, it was just a feint. The real killer is the figure of Velislana hiding behind the wild boar. However, Su Mo did not show it. When the gap in strength is too big, the strategy does not have much meaning. Since the opponent wants to get close to him, Su Mo is naturally happy to give him this opportunity. Then kill him with one blow. On the other side, Velislana, hiding behind the wild boar, suppressed his inner excitement and tried his best to downplay his presence. After the battle just now, he suddenly realized the giant in front of him seemed to have been using various skills, but he had never used the physical fitness that the giant was best at. Therefore, Velislana had a bold guess in his mind. Maybe this giant who used the light skill like it was free of charge was the type of person who was extremely biased. The opponent might be strong in the light skill, and the physical fitness might be unexpectedly weak. Thinking of this, he immediately made a plan. Let the mythical beast wild boar stand in front. Wait for an opportunity to get close. When the opponent is caught off guard, use the thunderstorm incarnation of Goat to subdue the enemy in one move. Although there is a great risk of failure in doing so, but now that the strength of the enemy and us is so different, there is no better way than this. It is impossible to win in a head-on battle. If you don't even have the courage to take an unconventional approach, how can you win? Thinking of this, Velislana drove the mythical beast wild boar and quickly rushed to Ultraman Tiga. Now, Velislana's eyes lit up and prepared to release the goat incarnation. At the same time, now, Su Mo also launched an attack at the same time. Tiga palm strikes and cuts. A powerful hand knife directly hit the mythical beast wild boar, and Velislana, who was preparing to use the goat incarnation behind him. Under this overwhelming force, even the golden body of Buddhism will be directly split. Not to mention Velislana, who has no defensive power. The divine beast, the wild boar, collapsed and disappeared completely, and Velislana also fell directly to the ground. At the end of his life, Velislana had only one thought in his mind. This damn giant. Why is his physical fitness so strong? Chapter 26:036 End the gods and return them to mythology. Su Mo also didn't expect that Velislana would be so brave. He actually dared to charge directly towards him. As the god of disobedience, Velislana's body is certainly much stronger than that of ordinary humans. It is not an exaggeration to say that he is made of steel and iron. However, compared with the mythical beast, it is far inferior. Whether it is the god killer or the god of disobedience, what they are better at is actually resisting magic attacks. The resistance to physical attacks does not reach that outrageous level. Among the god killers, whether it is the Nordic wolf king Woban, the martial arts king Luo Tzulian, or the Sword King Tony. They all use defensive powers or transformation powers to have the power to fight against divine beasts and resist hard. Unfortunately, although Velaslana has 10 incarnations, he does not have defensive power. So, under a melee sword from Ultraman Tiga, the mythical beasts Boar and Velaslana were immediately shot to death. If Sumer knew what Velaslana was really thinking, knowing that Velaslana is ready to seize the weakness of his physical fitness, I'm afraid he will laugh out loud. Huh, what a joke. When will Ultraman's physical fitness become a shortcoming? Even though Ultraman Tiga has many light skills, he is often called the Master by Su Mo. In fact, Ultraman Tiga's physical fitness is also quite strong. Otherwise, in the original work, it would be impossible to support Dicuo to always use Dicuo's happy type, the red power form. Even in the composite form of Ultraman Tiga, his physical quality is definitely not comparable to that of the god of disobedience. It's not like there were no monsters beaten to death by Diga's punches. Now, though Velaslana has been photographed dead, Su Mo did not relax his vigilance. Being familiar with the original work, he naturally knew that Velaslana had no defensive power. But he holds an incarnation that can be resurrected. Ram, therefore, just being killed once could not completely return him to the myth. Sure enough, it didn't take long. In front of Su Mo, Velaslana's body began to recover. His vitality fell to the bottom, and then gradually became stronger. Being able to master this incarnation proficiently, he naturally does not need to wait too long. It came back to life all of a sudden. Even the strength in the body has recovered a lot. Su Mo, the resurrected Velaslana, looked at him with burning eyes, as if he was ready to remember this name completely. That's right. Su Mo nodded and formed an L shape with his hands. Remember this name well, and then return to the myth. Zepeliao Ray, simplified version. The silver-white light, emitted directly without any accumulation of energy, completely enveloped Velaslana's figure. After fighting until now, Su Mo finally understood the power of Ultraman Tiga's skills. If only we were fighting against the god of disobedience. There is no need to charge up, and the damage from the move can be overflowed directly. Therefore, without too much hesitation, Ultraman Tiga directly sent away the god of disobedience in front of him with a simplified version of Zappari's AO Ray. This time, it is the real and complete end. Far away, Erica, who had been watching the battlefield, was stunned. You actually killed a god. She was already shocked when the other party killed the mythical beast boar before. I am afraid that only the legendary Holy Magister can do this. Unexpectedly, this was not the limit of the mysterious magician. That man actually transformed directly into a majestic giant of light. Then, with a crushing attitude, within 1 minute, he cornered the Zoroastrian god of war and successfully killed him. No, that's not right. Thinking back to just now, the giant of light defeated the enemy with a single blow of his sword, and then completely ended it with a ray of light. Erica immediately shook her head and changed her words. This can't be called killing gods at all. It's completely hunting. Killing refers to the following. The weak challenges the strong, and the servant attacks the master. If this word is used, it means that this mysterious magician is weaker than the god of disobedience, Velaslana. And hunting refers to the act of hunting under the above control. No matter how you look at the scene just now, you can see that the giant of light occupies an absolutely dominant position. In other words, the god of disobedience actually became a weakling in front of that giant. It is precisely because the word kill should not be used in the battle just now. This is a hunt. It is the hunt of the weak by the strong. This is simply outrageous. I remember it was taught in class before that basically the first time a god killer kills a god, it all depends on luck. Thinking of this, Erica couldn't help but doubt the education she had received. Is this based on luck? No matter how you look at it, it looks like the giant of light is crushing the god killer and beating him, completely crushing him. Moreover, the time it took to kill the legendary Zoroastrian military god was less than a minute. This level of speed reflects the combat effectiveness. Even those veteran god killers are beyond their reach. Neither the Marquis of Vauban nor the martial arts king Luo Civilian had such an exaggerated record. No matter how you look at it, this man's power is too terrifying. However, for humans, this is a good thing. The stronger the God Slayer is, the more it can protect humans from the disasters caused by the god of disobedience. When thinking of this, Erica suddenly realized something. If this lord is killing gods for the first time, he should not have subordinates now. So wouldn't she have a chance to curry favor with him? 037 Pandora Dark Festival after killing the gods. Su Mo felt an inexplicable summoning power. If I guess correctly, the one who summoned him should be Pandora, the mother of all God Slayers and the person who manages the God Slayer reincarnation ceremony. Under normal circumstances, even if the newly promoted God Slayer defeated the god of disobedience by luck, he often falls into a dying state. At this time, it is easy to be summoned to the boundary between life and death. That is, the underworld. That is the gap between the human world and the underworld. The God Slayer reincarnation ceremony is also carried out here. However, Su Mo's situation is completely different from that of ordinary God Slayers. Not to mention dying, Su Mo was not even injured, and the timer did not even flash red. Not to mention, in his current state, his soul would not be directly taken away by a god of Pandora's level. So, an embarrassing thing happened. If Su Mo did not choose to respond to the call, Pandora in the Netherworld would really have no way. There was no way to start the God Killer reincarnation ceremony. She was in the Netherworld, racking her brains and couldn't think of a way to notify Su Mo. But she found that Su Mo actually responded to the call directly. Without hesitation, she stepped directly into the Netherworld. Arrived at the area where Pandora was. Great! Pandora breathed a sigh of relief. In her eyes, all the God Killers are her children. Suddenly, there came a guy who didn't want to recognize her. She really didn't know what to do? Fortunately, this child was not rebellious to that extent and still responded to her call. On Su Mo. His goal was to obtain the power of the God Killer. So, after feeling the call, he didn't hesitate too much. He took a step forward, and following the guidance of the summoning power, he arrived directly in the underworld. As soon as he entered the underworld, a teenage girl with purple hair and twin ponytails appeared in front of him and threw herself on him. Too slow. I thought you would refuse your mother's summons. The purple-haired girl complained with a pout. Although Su Mo's response was not slow, he was the only person who could refuse her in thousands of years, so he was naturally a little worried. Who are you? Su Mo pushed the purple-haired girl's head a little further away. Even if it was an anime character he had seen in his previous life, he was not used to being hugged suddenly, being pushed aside by Su Mo with such disgust. Pandora was not angry, but put her hands on her hips and introduced herself proudly. Chapter 27. As long as there are gods and humans, I will appear. I am the witch who gives all disasters and a glimmer of hope, and the mother of the God Slayer, Pandora. You can call me Mom. Don't want. Su Mo immediately refused. Who would a serious person consider a teenage girl to be a mother? Huh? How come? Pandora drooped her head in disappointment, but she was not surprised by this answer. Probably, being rejected is the norm. At this time, a somewhat familiar voice sounded. The witch who gives children all power. Why hasn't she returned to mythology yet? Was it your ritual? It was Valesh Rana's voice. After losing the battle and being killed, he was supposed to return to mythology. But before that, he was trapped by Pandora's dark ritual. Only then did he remember Su Mo's previous declaration that he wanted to usurp his power and understood his situation. Yes, Lord Military God, you were defeated by this child. Pandora had a proud smile on her face and seemed very happy with Su Mo's achievements. Failure. Velashrana's voice fell silent for a moment, then burst into laughter. Ha ha ha! It was indeed a defeat, and it was a disastrous defeat that left me completely speechless. It's something I can't forget. Regarding his defeat, the Zoroastrian war god acknowledged his defeat with great magnanimity. If this is the case, then please bestow your blessings and hatred on this child, the seventh God Slayer, possessing the destiny of the youngest demon king. Please dedicate your sacred spirit of speech to this child. Pandora said with a smile. Although the God Slayer reincarnation ceremony is mandatory, It will be useless even if Velaslana refuses. But they are both gods, and the other person is not the hero of steel god she hates, so Pandora will naturally not have a bad attitude. The sacred spirit of speech means power. Hearing this, Velaslana sounded confused. It is natural for the loser to contribute his property to the winner. But with his strength, does he really need power? Naturally, Velaslana still had fresh memories of Sumo's power. This name was also deeply remembered by him. Although Su Mo proposed to defeat himself and usurp his power from the very beginning. However, after seeing the other party's power that surpassed the gods, Velaslana had some doubts about one thing. Could his own power really help the other party? The power of the gods is indeed powerful, but compared with that giant of light, it is not on the same level at all. For such a strong man, can his power really make a difference? This is probably the first time in this world. The god of disobedience began to doubt whether his power was worthy of the god killer who killed him. This person who doubts life is the Zoroastrian god of war and victory with amazing combat power. If his former enemy Mekr knew about it, he would probably feel doubtful about life. 038 Trial Rewards, Power Transformation. At this moment, Su Mo interrupted. Of course, don't think it is easy for him to beat Velaslana, although it is indeed not difficult. However, under the overwhelming power of Ultraman Tiga, the opponent was still able to persist for nearly a minute. Su Mo suspected that if the military god was not too bellicose and would not back down, the two sides might have fought for a longer time. If the other party wants to escape, it is not necessarily possible to capture him quickly. It can also be seen from this that the flexibility and practicality of divine power are indeed of considerable value. Moreover, if done properly, Su Mo felt that the power of the gods might be able to further enhance Ultraman Tiga's strength. For example, if the white horse, the incarnation of the sun, is combined with Ultraman Tiga, maybe we can create a Tiga Corona mode. Let's not talk about whether it is strong or not. It will definitely look handsome. Speaking of which, you should still owe me a reward, right? When it came to power, Su Mo suddenly thought of this matter. The reward? Are you talking about the one who passes the trial? Naturally, Velaslana did not forget this incident. When he first imposed a test on humans, he promised Su Mo that he would be rewarded if he could kill the mythical beast Wild Boar. Although Su Mo refused at that time because he wanted to defeat Velaslana in a complete state. But in the subsequent battle, Su Mo once killed the mythical beast boar with one strike of his hand. This naturally counts as completing the trial. Logically speaking, being a god should reward you. But I have one power all over my body, and I will give it to you later. Even if I want to pay the reward, I don't seem to have anything I can do with it. Velaslana looked around himself and suddenly felt that he seemed very poor. There is nothing but power. But the power itself, due to the god killer's reincarnation ceremony, would have been obtained by the other party. No matter how you look at it, there is nothing in yourself that can be used as a reward. Yeah, the mighty Zoroastrian god of war shouldn't go back on his word with humans. After hearing the conversation between the two, Pandora joined in at the right time. A trial is imposed on humans, but there are no corresponding rewards or anything like that. If God King Mekr knows about this, he might say some unpleasant things. As the mother of the god killer, Pandora naturally sides with Su Mo and wants to benefit Su Mo. Velaslana could see Pandora's thoughts. However, he also understood that what Pandora said was indeed true. If he reneges on his promise to humans, the majesty of the gods will be gone. If you are looked down upon by Mekr because of this, you are asking for it. However, he really had nothing to give. For a moment, Lord Military God seemed a little embarrassed. At this time, Su Mo, who had already made a plan in his mind, spoke. It doesn't matter if you can't find the reward. I have something here that I need your help with. Hearing this, Velaslana breathed a sigh of relief. But it doesn't matter. Although he could see that Su Mo said this deliberately, he was not prepared to ask for a reward from the beginning, but was prepared to let him help. But from another perspective, this also gives him a step to step down. Velaslana is a warrior who serves the contract in Mithras, the body of the sun, and naturally will not allow himself to break his trust with humans. Su Mo should thank the other party for doing this. Don't worry, it's not difficult. Seeing Velaslana agreeing, a smile appeared on Su Mo's face. It's about power. I hope you can help transform it. Generally speaking, what kind of power a god killer can obtain is related to his own will. Often, the god slayer will automatically obtain the power that is more compatible with him. However, if the god of disobedience has only one power, then there is no choice. Such is the case in Velaslana. He has only one power, so there is no choice. However, Su Mo's impression of 10 incarnations was not good. In the original work, Kusanagi Gadu used these 10 incarnations to defeat many gods and god slayers. In terms of its upper limit, this power is indeed pretty good. But the lower limit is frighteningly low. There is no other reason than that there are too many restrictions on the use of these powers. Wild Boar can only be used against huge targets. Bull can only deal with enemies with huge strength. Goat requires the vitality of companions. Camel can only be used in close combat, and Phoenix will severely load your heart. It must also be used against high-speed attacks. And there is a time limit. In addition to the limitations of each of these avatars, these 10 avatars have another fatal weakness. They can only be used once per day. This series of restrictions made this power instantly useless. Even in the finale, not all of these restrictions were lifted. As for Su Mo, what he needs is not this kind of power with high upper limit and low lower limit. After all, in terms of upper limit, these incarnations combined cannot compare to Ultraman Tiga. What Su Mo needs is a relatively stable and powerful power. In addition, there are indeed many things in these incarnations that are of little use to him. Phoenix's divine speed can be achieved by transforming into light elements. The Bull's monster strength is not as good as Ultraman Tiga, and according to the upgrading rules of the earthly world, there is still room for significant improvement in his physical fitness in the future. Camel's melee enhancement was also defeated by Ultraman Tiga. Goat's lightning needs to be of the same mind as its companions, which is too restrictive. The resurrection of Ram sounds good, but it can only be used when it is near death, and there is no buff bonus when it is resurrected on the spot. So, I don't want any of these incarnations. Su Mo said, if possible, I hope to abandon these incarnations and remove the restrictions on other incarnations. Compared with these incarnations that are either useless or have substitute abilities, Su Mo hopes to obtain a power that can be used flexibly and without restrictions. Improving his strength under normal conditions is the goal of his trip. Chapter 28:039, God of War in the East. When he heard Su Mo's request, Velaslana was very surprised. He had never thought that his power would be so despised. Moreover, after listening carefully, he felt that the other party's despise was very reasonable. Among the 10 incarnations, there are indeed a few incarnations that are completely useless to you. Velaslana thought about it and felt that what Su Mo said made sense, let alone the restrictions on the use of these incarnations. Just saying that each incarnation can only be used once a day is a very obvious weakness. If the user is dealing with a god-level enemy, all means are used after victory. Within a day, if another god-level enemy comes. In this case, the inability to use the incarnation is a fatal flaw. In this situation, ordinary godslayers can only wait to be killed. Not to mention that many of these incarnations have abilities that are actually duplicated with the abilities that Su Mo already has. Abandoning these useless incarnations in exchange for loose restrictions is indeed a good idea. Is it feasible? Su Mo asked. The transformation of power was purely a sudden idea of his. If it is possible, it would be a good thing for him. I just don't know whether this operation can work. Of course it is feasible. Velaslana immediately gave a positive answer. I am the god of victory. Victory is my essence. And it is not difficult to adjust the power of the incarnation. Of course, Velaslana still needs to make adjustments himself to change the power that is about to be transferred to Su Mo. If he did not owe Su Mo a reward, he would not change his power with his pride. In that case, Su Mo could only get the original 10 incarnations. There are a lot of restrictions, and it is not easy to use. After saying that, Velaslana modified his own power after some operations. At this time, Pandora began to hold the reincarnation ceremony of the God Slayer. The power of the god of disobedience began to be transmitted to Su Mo through the Pandora Dark Festival. Velislana is about to return to the myth. At the last moment of his consciousness, the Zoroastrian god of war gave Su Mo his final blessing. Su Mo, you are the first person to usurp the power of me, the god of victory, and the only one who made me accept defeat in battle. As the winner who defeated the god of victory, I wish you to become stronger. Become stronger until you are strong enough to defeat everything and cut off all fates. After saying this, Velislana returned to the myth. Not long after, the god-killer reincarnation ceremony ended. Su Mo finally completely reincarnated into a god-killer, feeling the surging curse power in his body that surpassed the dragon veins. Su Mo felt that if he were the current self, he would use the super magic, Fairy's Law. Even if hundreds of ordinary divine beasts came, they would probably be killed by him in one blow. In addition, the bonus of physical fitness is also very large. Adventurers are still mortals after all. The skeleton of the God Slayer is several times tougher than the latest alloy. Compared with these, the biggest gain is naturally the power usurped from Velislana. Power, god of war of the East. After discarding the 5 useless incarnations, the restrictions on the remaining incarnations were all lifted. Even the most stringent restriction that each incarnation can only be used once a day was lifted. After learning this result, Su Mo was very surprised. It was a very good result to be able to remove the restrictions on the remaining incarnations just by discarding half of the incarnations. Unexpectedly, even the biggest restriction can be removed. After the biggest restriction is removed, the 5 incarnations without restrictions are completely equivalent to 5 independent powers. Being able to remove all restrictions is simply a bug. I didn't expect it can be transformed to this extent. Su Mo thought for a while and looked at Pandora. Could it be that all powers can be done this way? Of course not. Pandora shook her head with a smile. This time, it should be a special treatment from the Lord of War. Perhaps he has some hope in you. That's right. Su Mo nodded. Not all gods can transform their powers. This time he was lucky. Not only did he meet Velislana and pass his test, but he also convinced the proud god of war. So, he got the gift from the god of victory. After reincarnation, Su Mo chatted with Pandora for a while. After satisfying the witch's curiosity, he came back from the underworld. Just returned to Sardinia. In front of him, the young knight who had failed to challenge the beast immediately knelt on one knee. The great knight of the red copper-black cross, Erica Blantrey, greets the king. The God Slayer is an overlord, a demon king, and an irresistible existence for human magicians. For this point, Erica remembered it in her heart, so she did not dare to be negligent in etiquette. Is it Erica? Yes. Erica bowed her head respectfully. Su Mo was not surprised by the girl's attitude. The magic societies in Europe have been psychologically traumatized by Marquis Vauban, and they are very clear about the power of the God Slayer. So they will not try to use the God Slayer like the Far East Island country. The magic societies here are quite obedient. Su Mo was not polite either. Only the God Slayer has the ability to resist the disaster of the God of disobedience. Compared with their contributions, it is normal to have some privileges. Please help me find a place to rest, and by the way, let the residents on the island evacuate urgently. He directly stated his request. Yes, Erica naturally had no objection to this basic request. However, when she heard the following words, she was still a little surprised. Hasn't the god of disobedience been solved? Why does the king still want the residents to evacuate? She suddenly had a bad premonition in her heart. Who said that the god of disobedience has been solved? Su Mo glanced at her. There are 2 pillars of disobedience this time. Hearing this, Erica was completely stunned. 2 gods of disobedience gathered on a small island? Is God going to destroy this island? 040 half-hour Tiga form under the order of the God Killer. The efficiency of the magic society is still very fast. After a few minutes, a huge villa was cleared and temporarily provided to Su Mo as a place to stay. In addition, the evacuation of the crowd was also carried out immediately. At the same time, the information about the birth of the 7th God Killer also spread all over the world. In the same era, 7 god killers gathered. This unprecedented phenomenon made many magic societies panic. There are also many magic societies that saw opportunities. Perhaps they can improve their status by hugging the thigh of the new king? Su Mo didn't care about the ideas of these magic societies. At this moment, he sat on a chair by the balcony, basking in the sun, closing his eyes, and familiarizing himself with the power he had just obtained. After screening the power, each incarnation has a very unique power and a considerable degree of growth. In addition, it seems that it is because the incarnation is carefully selected. The power of each incarnation is much stronger than when Kusanagi Gata used it in the original work. If they're gradually familiarized and trained, the power of these incarnations will be further improved. Even, they can burst out with power far beyond the current power. Su Mo clearly remembers that at the beginning of the story, the power of the God Slayers was only enough to sink an island. And at the end of the story, they all showed their trump cards. 1 or 2 of them can use power that can shake the continent. The 5 incarnations that he chose can be regarded as ace-level abilities in the early stage. And in the later stage, they're even stronger to the point of abnormality. Whether it is the wind that teleports, the white horse explosion on a cosmic scale, the warrior that cuts off fate, the boy that is endowed with protection, or the wild boar that directly hits the moon and creates a crater. They're all much stronger than at the beginning, as long as Su Mo continues to develop them well. Chapter 29. Sooner or later, these incarnations will be developed to a level that surpasses the original Velaslana and the incarnations that Su Mo abandoned. Their own growth potential is very limited. Whether it is Velaslana himself using it or developing it in the original work, there is no particularly amazing performance. Moreover, these abilities originally overlap with his other powers, and there is no value in investing. After getting familiar with the power in his body, Su Mo transformed into Ultraman Tiga of ordinary size. Now the transformation time is directly extended to half an hour. After feeling it a little, Su Mo was immediately delighted. It has been mentioned many times before that the transformation time of Ultraman Tiga is not strictly 3 minutes, but is limited according to the amount of energy. And the transformation of Ultraman Tiga requires physical strength to control. Therefore, as long as the physical fitness is improved, the time that Ultraman Tiga can maintain the transformation can be extended. Originally, after being strengthened by the world of the Earth, the transformation time of Ultraman Tiga was about 10 minutes. Now, after further strengthening through the God Slayer reincarnation ceremony, while Su Mo's physical fitness has improved, the time it takes to transform into Ultraman Tiga has also been greatly increased. Half an hour of Tiga transformation is enough to destroy the Earth. Su Mo is quite satisfied with the current time limit. With his current physical strength, even if he fires 7 or 8 Superior rays in a row, it is estimated that the red light will not flash. In this case, the little monsters in the Tiga world can really let him bully them. The only one he can't beat. It is estimated that the only one left is the last big boss, the ruler of darkness, Katangia. After roughly confirming his current strength, Su Mo changed back to his own appearance and began to rest leisurely. Although the God King Mekl is powerful and can match Velaslana. However, unlike Velaslana's flexible and changeable fighting style, Mekl's fighting style is mainly reckless. And the most feared thing about this fighting style is to encounter someone who is more reckless than him. Su Mo felt that it would be quite easy to deal with the god of disobedience. After a short nap, Su Mo woke up from his nap. At this time, Erica, who was waiting by the side, immediately reported, "King, the residents of this island have been evacuated, and the port has also set up a defense line, prohibiting other ships from docking." So fast, Su Mo was a little surprised. "Well done." Then he praised Erica. Being able to coordinate the relationship between all parties and complete the evacuation work in such a short time is not something that can be done by just being a great knight. This requires a certain skill in interpersonal relationships. "Thank you for your compliment." Erica smiled on her pretty face, then remembered something and immediately bowed her head. "However, there is one thing that I would like to ask for your forgiveness. Although the Magic Society has transferred witches to cooperate, they have not seen the relevant information of the god of disobedience. The witch's spiritual vision. Su Mo remembered that this world has this setting. Witches with clairvoyance have the ability to see the essence of gods. But this ability depends on luck, and not every time they can see relevant information. Moreover, depending on the qualifications, the amount of information in the pictures seen by clairvoyance will also be different. The Magic Society naturally dared not send a witch who was too weak to assist, but it was futile if they were unlucky. Seeing that Su Mo did not speak, Erica lowered her head again with some uneasiness. The Magic Society has transferred a witch who is good at clairvoyance, Liliana Chronicle, who will be here within 3 hours. Liliana is her best friend and rival, and she does have good qualifications in clairvoyance. However, her location is too far from here, and even if she takes a private plane, it will take some time to get here. I hope this king will not be angry about this. By the way, the power systems used by different protagonists will gradually differentiate according to their own experiences and preferences. In the later stage, everyone will not use the same power. Please rest assured. 041 No martial ethics. No need for the witch's assistance. I already know the identity of the god of disobedience this time. Su Mo shook his head. The witch's spiritual vision is indeed useful, especially for him who has the power of the god of war, the golden sword that can cut off the godhood. However, this time's opponent Mekl does not need the witch's reminder. Su Mo also knows this god very well. Not to mention, with his current strength, even if he doesn't know the information, he is sure to win. You already know? Erica was a little surprised. She remembered that Su Mo had also revealed the identity of Velaslana before. Perhaps the king has a channel of information about these two gods of disobedience that he doesn't know. God King Mekl is a god with a close relationship with Sardinia. Please wait here for a while. It's time to go meet him. After saying a few words, Su Mo turned into light and disappeared in an instant. Erica was left at a loss. Isn't this god killer's personality too casual? Moreover, it means asking myself to wait here. Is it possible he wanted to say, how long does it take to kill the second pillar of gods? Thinking of the time it took Velaslana to be killed by Su Mo, Erica had to admit. What this king said seems to be true. As for Su Mo, after turning into light, he quickly reached the top of a mountain. Sardinia is the second largest island in Italy. The island is mountainous, with the highest peak reaching more than 1,800 meters. Therefore, I want to search for traces of the god of disobedience on such a large island. Even if the god of disobedience takes the form of a giant, it's not an easy thing either. Although Velaslana's avatar does not have the ability to search for enemies. But Ultraman Tiga does. Transformed into Ultraman Tiga again, Su Mo directly used Diga's eyesight to investigate the entire Sardinia through perspective. Ultraman Tiga's abilities are really useful. Within a few minutes, he found the cave where Mekl, the god of disobedience, was hiding. After arriving in front of the cave, Su Mo did not hesitate and immediately gave him a greeting gift. You who are hard to come by with sharp teeth, give the hammer of destruction to those who break the contract. Recited the word spirit that summoned the incarnation of Wild Boar. A mythical wild boar, more than 20 meters tall, with a green face and fangs, emerged from the land that had turned into a swamp. The wild boar, possessing unparalleled thrust, was restless. Go! Under Su Mo's order, the mythical wild boar burst out with strength and momentum that shook the earth and crashed directly into the cave in front of him. Boom! The huge wild boar rushed deep into the cave and directly cut off the middle of the hill. Mekl, who was recovering from his injuries in the cave, also came out. Mekl, who had been recovering from his injuries, obviously didn't know what had happened before. Suddenly being pushed straight away by the wild boar, Mekl immediately roared loudly. Rana, you don't have martial ethics. Although there are strategies in the battles between gods, most of them are just plots. How can there be such a sneak attack? Although it has no effect, it is embarrassing. He was a majestic god king, a majestic dragon slayer, and he was almost defeated by a wild boar. Just when Mekl was extremely angry, a strange voice sounded. If you look for the military god of Zoroastrianism, He has returned to mythology. Mekr followed the sound and found a young man with black hair and black eyes standing on the top of a nearby mountain looking at him. The mythical wild boar that attacked him before clearly obeyed his orders. What you are using is the power of that boy Velislana. Mekr looked at Su Mo and was immediately enlightened. So that's it. Is he the newly born god killer? That military god boy is really unlucky. I didn't expect that he would be defeated at the hands of a mere human. He had been concentrating on healing his wounds before and did not pay attention to the movements in the outside world. After seeing Su Mo, Mekr knew that Velislana had been defeated. Not only that, this newly born god killer also targeted himself. Mekr has no fear of this. Haha, god killer who was lucky enough to gain part of the power of the military god imp. I didn't expect you to find me so quickly. Do you really want to usher in defeat? The God Slayer and the God of Disobedience are mortal enemies. Although Velislana did not pay attention to this, Mekr cared more about it, and his attitude was naturally not good. As soon as he made a sarcastic comment, Mekr immediately remembered something. Chapter 30, My Battle with Velislana, is only halfway through. Since Velislana was killed by you, you will finish the rest of the battle. He was very competitive and unwilling to accept the result of giving up halfway. If Velislana died at the hands of the god killer in front of him, wouldn't he be able to say that he had defeated Velislana as long as he defeated the god killer? Su Mo was naturally happy to agree to Mekr's request. No problem. Su Mo nodded. There is no reason not to accept the power that is delivered to the door. Hearing this, Mekr grinned. Then it depends on whether you have the ability to live up to your tone. Without saying much, this Mediterranean god king was not the type who liked to talk big. Under the surge of divine power, the skies suddenly changed color, with strong winds and heavy rains, and shining thunder directly struck Su Mo. The god Mekr, whose more ancient name should be Baal, was originally the god of storms, lightning, and the sky. He is the god king worshipped by Semitic people such as the Canaanites and Phoenicians. All things in the sky are naturally controlled by him. The violent thunder fell like a divine punishment. For such an attack, Su Mo used his old trick again, and a dazzling magic circle emerged from his hands. 3 pillars. With the support of the magic power of the God Slayer that surpassed the dragon vein, this defensive magic circle was strengthened more than 10 times. Even the most powerful thunder could not hurt Su Mo in the magic circle in a short time. At this time, Su Mo in the center of the magic circle wanted to try a move he had thought of before. 042 Ultraman Tiga, Corona form. The first step is naturally to transform into Ultraman Tiga. A burst of light flashed. A 50-meter-tall giant of light stood on the earth. There is no need to continue to maintain the defensive magic circle, 3 pillars. Neither the storm nor the thunder can break Ultraman Tiga's defense. Then, the most important step came. To win, come to me. O immortal son, give me a shining steed. O miraculous steed, bring your lord's halo quickly. Su Mo chanted the words to summon the white horse incarnation. Velislana was a warrior who served the sun god Mitra. This sun incarnation was also the power given to him by Mitra. Originally, the white horse incarnation, such a powerful power, should be used as a decisive trump card. But now, Su Mo summoned it at the beginning of the battle. You actually used such a powerful power at the beginning? Mekr was very surprised. He was not surprised by the power of the white horse incarnation, but by the opponent's unwiseness. Even for gods, it is difficult to use such a power twice in a short period of time. If he used the white horse incarnation at this time, once he avoided this attack, the opponent would be equivalent to destroying a trump card. This is not what a wise man does. Just when Mekr sneered in his heart, thinking that this novice god slayer didn't know how to fight, he suddenly discovered something. Above the sky, the second sun was shining. That is, the trajectory of the incarnation of White Horse. It didn't seem to be heading for him. On the contrary, why did it seem to be heading for the light giant opposite? I hit myself? And on Su Mo's side, the White Horse wrapped in Yongyin, with unparalleled light and heat, fell directly from the sky and rushed towards Ultraman Tiga. At this moment, Su Mo used the power that he had mastered when Ultraman Tiga was still a dark giant. Attack absorption ability. In the movie version, Dark Tiga relied on absorbing the power of his partners in the Dark Period Darum and Hitler. In the posture of the Dark Giant, he possessed the power of two transformation forms, the aerial type and the powerful type. Finally, he absorbed the power of Camilla. By reversing light through darkness, he changed from a dark giant to a light giant. Absorbing the power of the enemy should be the innate power that Ultraman Tiga possessed at the very beginning. Before, Su Mo had no idea about this power. But after being strengthened by the God's Slayer ritual, this power was naturally unlocked. It seems that Ultraman Tiga still has many abilities that need to be explored by himself. Let's put this aside for now. After launching the attack absorption ability, soon, the Giant of Light absorbed the entire sun, will symbolized by the white horse. Then, the light energy in the body immediately recorded the power of Yang, represented by the sun wheel. Just like transforming into two forms, the powerful type and the aerial type. After recording Yang's power, Su Mo immediately realized that he had one more form of transformation. Cross your hands on your head, then swing it down. The crystal on Ultraman Tiga's forehead flashed a dazzling golden light. The next second, this blue and red giant of light completely changed its posture. Ultraman Tiga Corona form, a giant with a golden and red body, appears on the earth. This is the Corona form, majestic and dangerous, like the flames of the sun burning. Compared to the previous composite form, the aura of Ultraman Tiga in the form of a corona in front of him became obviously more dangerous and full of oppression. Just being watched made Mecher feel unspeakable pressure. In corona mode, it seems that there are a lot more light skills. Feel the power in your body. Su Mo was very satisfied with this new form. The red powerful form is a form that improves strength and defense and maximizes physical advantages. So the coronal mode is a mode that greatly increases the power of heat-destroying light. The power of heat-destroying light can be increased several times. After roughly mastering the power of the corona form, Su Mo focused his attention on Mecher in front of him. In this world, there is no one more suitable to research new moves than the god of disobedience. Other side, Mecher showed an attitude of facing a powerful enemy. Although I had looked down upon this novice god killer before, but after seeing the power displayed by this giant of golden light, Mecher couldn't help but be shocked. Faced with such a level of power, only fools who cannot clearly see the situation would despise the opponent. However, Mecher did not back down. Rather, he was more willing to fight. No wonder even Velislana was defeated. It turned out to be an opponent of this level. The God King of the Mediterranean laughed loudly. Then, he called out the ancient spirit with fighting spirit. Chaser, exile, a pair of weapons that have become my minions. Chase this giant. Let him see the wrath of the God King. The two divine weapons wrapped in wind and thunder heeded Mecher's call and roared directly towards Ultraman Tiga. Just like its name, these two wooden stick-shaped artifacts have the effects of knocking back and banishing. It was the power of these two weapons that directly shattered the Zoroastrian god of war Velislana into 10 incarnations scattered around. And faced with such a blow, the golden giant of light just moved his arms into an L shape in a leisurely manner. Exploding light. This is the ultimate move in corona form, also known as Nebist Ray. The special move, which was mainly made of gold with rainbow-like light shining around it, directly blasted through the two incoming artifacts. After directly smashing the two artifacts, the bursting light continued unabated and hit Mecher directly. Boom! The special attack in the corona form is obviously not something Mecher can bear. It's just a moment where I can't even breathe. The God King of the Mediterranean exploded directly. A complete return to mythology. 043 new capabilities. We meet again. Su Mo greeted the purple-haired girl with twin tails in front of him. Ah yes. After Pandora saw Su Mo, she looked a little dazed. Although he saw all the scenes of this child killing gods. Chapter 31, but he couldn't help but be surprised at his speed of killing gods. How long has it been? He just completed the reincarnation ceremony, and became a godslayer. Then, in such a short time, he killed another god. Even among all the children, you are the most special one. Pandora naturally knew that Su Mo had many secrets. The power of the Giant of Light did not belong to humans or gods at all. And Su Mo, this person, also appeared in this world out of thin air. He is not a human from this world. But Pandora didn't care about these things at all. So, what if he is not a human from this world? She is not unaware of the existence of parallel worlds. As long as Su Mo is a human and reincarnated as a godslayer, that is her child. As a mother, she will only be proud of her child's power. How could she explore the child's secrets? Su Mo didn't know what Pandora was thinking, although he had to be a little helpless against this which who always called herself a mother. But Pandora's attitude towards him and her stance at critical moments were still in his mind. So, after hearing Pandora say this, he didn't think the other party was testing anything. Instead, he said it with a confident face. Of course, other godslayers killed gods. In addition to being brave, they all relied on luck at first. And I rely on my own efforts. How can a hardworking person like me be the same as those who rely on luck? This is what he said. If the other Su Mo in the misty space heard it, they would definitely complain. But in a sense, what he said is not wrong. It is indeed Su Mo's own efforts to obtain the current power. The only problem is that Su Mo's self is a bit too much, and it will continue to increase. Well, you actually relied on yourself to get to where you are today. Pandora heard Su Mo's words that didn't seem to be false, and immediately looked at him with a bit of heartache. This child, how much suffering did he go through to get to where he is today? It seems that this child left his hometown and came to this world, and there must be a deep secret. For a moment, Pandora, whose maternal instinct burst out, had a great improvement in her favorability towards Su Mo. Speaking of which, why didn't I see Mekl this time? Su Mo couldn't help asking, thinking of the previous conversation with Velislana. Although Mekl's power doesn't need to be transformed, it's interesting to tease this God King. Unfortunately, that God King? Pandora shook her head with a strange expression and said with a bit of amusement, after being defeated by you, God King Mekl left in a very lost state, as if he was hit by being killed instantly for the first time. This is the first time Pandora has seen a god being killed like this by a god killer. Pandora suspects that this God King is likely to have a psychological trauma. Mekl's psychological quality needs to be strengthened. Su Mo shook his head, a little regretful. However, for him, it is enough to keep the power. After being reincarnated as a god killer, it is not necessary to go through the previous steps to obtain power again. When Su Mo came to this space, he had already felt the extra power in his body. Power, Lord of the Sky. This is the power that can control the celestial phenomena. Strong winds, heavy rains, hail, thunder, blizzards, all celestial phenomena can be completely controlled. And because it is the power that Mekl manifests as the supreme god. The control of this power is also the highest priority among the same type of powers. In other words, if the wind and waves possessed by Marquis Vauban, which can also control the celestial phenomena, is used in front of Su Mo, the control will be taken away directly by Su Mo. Su Mo is quite satisfied with this power. Not only is it flexible to use, but it is also powerful. The most important thing is that it is high-end. Everything in the sky is under my control. It is simply a necessary ability for a big man to show off. When Pandora heard Su Mo's words, she couldn't help but be speechless. What is psychological quality to be strengthened? If the Lord God heard this, he might be so angry that he would vomit blood. Su Mo was familiar with a new power in the netherworld and chatting with Pandora. In the outside world, the news that the seventh god slayer was born and killed 2 disobedient gods in succession spread all over the world. Even now that there are so many god slayers, killing 2 disobedient gods directly at the beginning is unprecedented. For a time, magic societies began to collect information about Su Mo. They wanted to dig out the identity of the other party and then draw closer to each other. In addition to magic societies, the god slayers also got the news of the birth of a new compatriot. Whether it was the Marquis of Woban, the Nordic Wolf King, or Luo Tzulian, the martial arts king. They were full of curiosity about this new compatriot who made a big splash. However, they did not take action immediately. Among the god slayers, the only one who couldn't hold back after hearing the news. Only one. Sword King Tony. 044 Misty Space. Cosmic Corona form. Su Mo didn't know at this time that a god slayer was rushing towards him in a hurry, wanting to compete with him. After returning from the netherworld, he went straight back to the villa before. Now the two disobedient gods have been killed. He also became a god slayer, which can be said to be a perfect execution of the plan. Knowing that Su Mo in other worlds must be anxiously waiting for him, he did not delay. After closing his eyes and lying on the sofa, with a thought, back to the misty space. In front of him was the familiar white fog, and after walking into the square, Su Mo in the Godslayer world shouted loudly with high spirits. Traveler Su Mo, your king is back. Success? Seeing him like this, Su Mo in the fairy tale world was delighted. Looking at this annoying expression, it should be successful. Su Mo in the Tiga world analyzed. What are you waiting for? Share. Su Mo of the Dicuo world's eyes lit up, and he immediately stepped forward and grabbed his self in the Godslayer world. Su Mo of other worlds followed suit and slapped him. What are you guys doing? Su Mo of the Godslayer world scolded in a pretentious manner. You dare to offend the majesty of the Demon King and put your claws on the king's shoulders. It's too presumptuous. No, it can't be called presumptuous, right? Su Mo of Dicuo, who had finished sharing, retorted. We are the same person, so strictly speaking, we are touching ourselves. How can it be called an offense? That's right. Su Mo of the fairy tale world felt the surging magic power in his body, and he was so happy that he didn't know what to do. With so much magic power, even if he didn't have power, he could dominate the fairy tale world with his ability. Hiss! Su Mo of the Tiga world took a breath of cold air. You actually developed Ultraman Tiga's Corona form? This form is so strong and so handsome. Su Mo from the Godslayer world laughed proudly. Of course, I'm the overlord who killed the gods in the sky. Isn't it normal to be able to do this? If you don't return to your hometown when you are rich and powerful, it's like walking in the night in brocade clothes. Chapter 32. The reason why God Killer Su Mo came back so soon was not only because the Su Mo people here were waiting for him, but also because he wanted to show off. People from the Godslayer world, or even Erica, who is shown to be smarter in the original work. At most, we only know that Su Mo is a god killer, maybe much better than other god killers, very awesome. However, they don't know where the most awesome one is. Only those in other worlds know the essence of their own operations. If you show off to yourself who understands these key points, then you have found the right person. The satisfaction of showing off increases dramatically. It sounds a little shameless, but it's true. Su Mo in the earthly world also felt the power of Ultraman Tiga in the Corona form. In addition to complaining, I also admire my own imagination of the world of God Killer. As expected of me, not only am I powerful, but I also have such a clear mind that I was able to create a new form of Ultraman Tiga in no time. He originally thought that Ultraman Tiga was the biggest force guarantee for them. The God Killer's power is only used to enrich his means and enhance his normal strength. But now it seems that the power of the God Killer world is more useful than expected. It was actually able to increase Ultraman Tiga's strength. It's hard to disagree. After feeling the Corona form, Su Mo in the fairy tale world was also very happy. Ultraman Tiga's strength is their biggest trump card. It's a good thing for all of them that this trump card can become stronger again. Since the Corona form can be developed, doesn't it mean that the Moon God form is also possible? With that said, Su Mo from the fairy tale world looked at himself from the God Killer world. It stands to reason that it should be possible. Su Mo from the God Killer world nodded. With Ultraman Tiga's ability to absorb attacks, it doesn't matter whether it's the power of the Sun God or the Moon God. It just depends on luck whether he can meet the Moon God. If the Moon God never descends to the lower realm, he will not be able to kill the opponent. There's no other way. I can only rely on you to do this. Su Mo from Tiga world touched his chin and said, the new power form, I can't help here much. However, as for the development of existing forms, I can leave it to me. Don't look at Su Mo's usual salty behavior. In fact, I'm quite arrogant at heart. Ultraman Tiga is the power of his world. If Ultraman Tiga's contribution to strengthening the power is overshadowed by his own in other worlds, where will this old face go? This face must be earned. If you can't earn it, he just chose to lie down. Anyway, he is himself in the world of God Killer, and the results of his efforts are also his own results. One family does not speak the same language, but now he feels that he can still play a considerable role. Development that already has some form? Su Mo in the God Killer world looked at himself in the Diga world. Suddenly, his eyes lit up. You mean Ultraman Tiga's form can become even stronger? Several other people also looked over. Certainly. Su Mo from Tiga world nodded. Ultraman Tiga's Corona form. You probably got this inspiration from Ultraman Gauss, right? In this case, it is very likely that the Corona shape can go further. That is Cosmic Corona shape. X4. The four Su Mo said in unison, and each could see the excitement in each other's eyes. If the Corona form can be developed to this extent, then this trump card can become even more powerful. 045 Gatanji. Shining Tiga's conjecture, leave this to me. Su Mo from Tiga world said confidently. Speaking of space combat, a person from the world of Ultraman Tiga has to face more. There are also many enemies in Ultraman Tiga that need to be fought outside the Earth. It is naturally much more convenient for him to develop here than in other worlds. Well, come on, I'm optimistic about you. Su Mo from the God Killer world expressed his expectations. Although he also developed the Corona form, he is more familiar with the power of power than the power of Ultraman. If you want to further strengthen your form, you still have to rely on yourself in Tiga world. I will also pay attention to things like the Moon God form. If you have any special powers you need, you can tell me. For Su Mo in the world of God Killers, he is now invincible. Therefore, his own demand for power is not very great. If the self in other worlds has any special needs, he will naturally be happy to satisfy them if given the opportunity. After all, to strengthen other Su Mo is to strengthen yourself. I don't have any demand here for the time being. Su Mo, who was in another world, shook his head. Then he curiously asked his other self. Speaking of which, after this plan is completed, everyone will be almost invincible in their respective worlds, right? Su Mo from Digo world nodded. That's right. Su Mo from the fairy tale world also agreed. Only Su Mo from the Diga world looked at his other self with a dark face. You're showing off, right? You're definitely showing off, right? So, among so many people, I am the only one who is not invincible. Tiga-san's Corona form is naturally powerful. However, there is still a certain gap between wanting to fight the final boss, the Lord of Darkness, Gatanji. Even if it was later developed by him into the Cosmic Corona form, Su Mo was still unsure. After all, the method of defeating Gatanji in the original work was too idealistic. Shining Tiga's fighting power is also impossible to estimate. Therefore, Su Mo really has no confidence in being able to deal with Gatanji now. Su Mo, who was in Dicuo world, then remembered that there was another big boss in Diga world. Recalling the plot in the original work, he suggested, otherwise, just follow the path of the original work and turn the whole world into light to help us. This is too passive. Su Mo from the God Killer world shook his head. In the original work, Ultraman Tiga was able to win, except for the fact that other people around the world turned into lights. The more important factor is that Gatanji himself can't last up the damage. What if at that time, when Gatanji defeated Ultraman Tiga, he not only used the petrifying light, but also used his tentacles to completely destroy the stone statue? Then even if other people can turn into light later, it won't be of any use. We cannot hope that the enemy will make mistakes. After all, their current fighting style is different from the original Tiga. There is no way to be sure that Gatanji will just petrify himself as in the original plot. Yes, Su Mo from Tiga world nodded in agreement. Whether it is the cosmic corona state or the possible moon state in the future, I can have a clue about the development of these forms. But the shining form is a bit difficult. This thing requires the cooperation of other people. There are too many variables. Through magic, Su Mo can turn himself into light. But there is no way to force everyone in the world to become light. When Su Mo was a little troubled in Tiga world, he touched his chin in the fairy tale world. He spoke thoughtfully. Sparkling Tiga appears twice in total. Once against Katanji in the main drama, and once against Emoji in the final Holy War in the theatrical version. The two transformations into Shining Tiga are actually different. The first time was to absorb the light of the children's souls, and the second time was to absorb the remaining light of the super ancient giant. It seems that Shining Tiga's transformation method should be to absorb a huge amount of external light to maintain the form. He analyzed the transformation factors of Shining Tiga. Then, look at yourself in other worlds. Looking at it this way, I have a bold guess. Su Mo's eyes lit up in the Diga world, and he immediately caught himself in the fairy tale world. You mean, do you have any idea of becoming Shining Diga? It's just a guess. Su Mo from the fairy tale world smiled slightly. Chapter 33 Then, he did not keep the secret, and immediately spoke out his conjecture. Whether it is the light of the children's hearts or the light left by the super ancient giants, they can make Tiga enter the shining state. Since different types of light are effective, it is very likely that natural light is also effective. If we gather all the light of the sun, moon, and stars, is it possible to transform into Shining Tiga? He put forward his own point of view. Into this, Su Mo in the Godslayer world understood what he meant in seconds. Gathering all the light of the sun, moon, and stars, could this power be? The most mysterious super magic, the shining of the fairy? The most lame super magic, the shining of the fairy? Su Mo in the Tiga world and Su Mo in the Dicuo world said in unison. However, the content of what they said was completely opposite. The two looked at each other, but they could understand each other's meaning. Fairy Glitter, this is the official name of this super magic. Due to translation issues, it is sometimes called Fairy Shine and sometimes Fairy's Glory. Out of habit, Su Mo of the Dicuo world calls it Fairy's Glory. And because of Shining Tiga, Su Mo of the Tiga world thinks that Fairy Shine is more suitable. However, these are all minor details. The key is not here, but in the effect of this super magic. 046 Fairy Shine, the development direction of Su Mo and others in the world of fairy tale. Among the three major super magics, Fairy Shine, this magic can be said to be the one with the highest level of description. When the super magic, Fairy's Law, was the first one, it amazed everyone as soon as it appeared. For the remaining two of the three major super magics of fairy tale, everyone had strong expectations. At the beginning, when Su Mo saw the super magic, Fairy Shine, hidden in the Mavis Cemetery, it was lent to Kana, whose strength has always been not very strong. He immediately thought that this was to show the power of this super magic. It is probably intended to let a weak person use this magic and then easily defeat the strong. After all, in the description, the magic Fairy Shine is far superior to the group attack, Fairy's Law, in terms of single-target attack power. It is even called the super killing magic. This level of terrible magic must be able to show unexpected power, right? Su Mo, who thought so, was immediately stunned when he saw the back. A magician with S-level strength. He used this super killing magic with all his strength, with unparalleled determination, and even turned on the BGM. In the end, he couldn't even beat Bruno, the vice president of the Devil's Heart Guild. Well, after all, the attack was interrupted. Not the magic power was insufficient. The style of this magic is slightly damaged, but it is not a big problem. If this is to show that even if it is super magic, if the user is too weak, it will still be avoided by the strong in various ways, or the attack will be diverted. Su Mo can barely accept it. After all, it is the most powerful and dazzling super magic among the three super magics. In the following battles, it will surely show considerable power. Thinking so, even though Su Mo saw the final outcome, he did not see any use for this super magic. If you must say, in the great magic fighting performance, Kana used this magic to directly shatter the magic meter, exceeding the upper limit of magic measurement. Apart from that, there is no achievement. In the final battle, although he hit the Magic King August, But as always, he did not defeat the opponent and became the existence that set off the opponent's style. Obviously, there are this or that kind of praise. In the end, the actual record is only 0 and 5. It is because of this, Su Mo will feel that this magic is both the most mysterious super magic, but it is also the super magic with the worst performance. So, after hearing what Su Mo in the fairy tale world said, Su Mo in the Earth Wrong world immediately showed a somewhat skeptical expression. Is this kind of super magic really useful? Although I also think that this magic doesn't perform well. Su Mo from the God Slayer world nodded first, then looked at himself in the fairy tale world. But magic should be very dependent on magic power, right? My understanding of magic is not as profound as yours, but I also feel the influence of magic power on the power of magic. The power of releasing fairy law before becoming a God Slayer and releasing fairy law after becoming a God Slayer is completely different. Su Mo, the God Slayer who has had actual experience, does not have too much prejudice against the magic of fairy shine. According to his experience, super magic is quite useful even for God Slayers. When magic power is sufficient, super magic can even show power that rivals power. If you use super magic in the state of Ultraman Tiga, its power is even greater than ordinary power. It is precisely because the upper and lower limits are very high. So, this magic may perform poorly in the original work, but in his own hands, he might be able to exert power far beyond imagination. Regarding the words of God Killer Su Mo, fairy tale Su Mo nodded in affirmation. Indeed, the power of magic cannot be purely based on performance, but on the principles behind it. As long as it is used in the right way, many inconspicuous magics can also exert considerable power. Although Fairy Shine is lacking in performance, it is a powerful attack magic recognized by both Meebes and Xerath, and its power will definitely not be weak. Gathering together the sun, moon, and stars, the attributes of light in the world are indeed very suitable for developing Ultraman Tiga's shining form. But it's too early to say this now. I haven't mastered this magic yet. With that said, Su Mo from the fairy tale world spread his hands. Fairy Shine. The acquisition of this super magic requires Meebes' approval. During the S-Class selection, Su Mo went to the Holy Land of Fairy Tale Guild, Sirius Island, although Meebes' grave was found during the assessment. But he didn't get this magic. So, what exactly is this magic, and whether it can develop a shining form? Su Mo himself in the fairy tale world is not sure. 2. Su Mo from Tiga world nodded. However, this is still an idea after all. If Shining Tiga can really be developed, then I won't panic at all. So, I'll leave it to you. He was quite supportive of Fairy Tale, Su Mo's conjecture. Anyway, it is a hope. This was a major matter related to his life. So naturally, he didn't want to give up every possibility. No problem. Su Mo from the Fairy Tale world is very talkative. After all, Su Mo of Tiga world is their ultimate trump card. In any case, he would not be left to face danger alone. If I can get Fairy Shine, I will notify you immediately. After this topic was discussed, Su Mo from Tiga world finally breathed a sigh of relief. In any case, there is hope for facing the final boss. Unlike before, we couldn't even discuss a plan. After the pressure in this area is relieved, Su Mo from Tiga world looked at everyone. Now that the general direction issue has been solved, how do you plan to develop next? When strength can be shared, it is natural for everyone to discuss cooperation and improve their strength respectively, and the final benefits will be greater. Regarding this point, through the plans of the first few people, he went directly from ordinary people or S-level magicians to what he is now, Su Mo, who has extremely powerful power and the power of Ultraman Tiga as his trump card. Naturally, I feel deeply. If they had not cooperated and implemented the plan one by one, I'm afraid that right now, he's just an S-level mage. There is no way to control the power of Ultraman and God Killer. Once the opportunity to master Ultraman's power is missed, it will be difficult to get it again. 047 newcomer appears. Fairy's Glory. This magic is not rushed. If you want to get Meebes' approval, you still need some planning. Su Mo from the fairy tale world was the first to express his plan. Because of the God Slayer's physique, the magic power in me now overrides the dragon's veins. So I plan to take advantage of this and learn some other magic first to supplement my combat methods. In terms of power, the magic in the fairy tale world is naturally not as powerful as the power in the God Slayer world. However, when it comes to potential and effects, the magic in the fairy tale world is not inferior to power. Chapter 34, whether it is the lost magic or the forbidden magic, the power and effect are very strong. Not to mention, in the world of fairy tale, there is also a concept of the origin of magic. If you can master this initial magic, reach the bottom of the abyss of magic. The wizard can even gain the power to create the world or even destroy the world. As a wizard, fairy tale Su Mo naturally yearns for it and hopes to reach this level. Other magic in the world of fairy tale? Hearing what fairy tale Su Mo said, Dicuo Su Mo became interested. Whether it is receiving magic or text magic, it seems to be good. The Arc of Time and the Arc of Manifestation are also very useful. Su Mo from the world of God Slayer thought for a while and said, forget about the dragon-slaying magic with side effects, but the power of the god-slaying magic is good, and the celestial magic is also okay. Su Mo from the world of Tiga also made suggestions. There are many special magics in the world of fairy tale, and many of the effects are quite strange. It is indeed worth studying and researching. At least they are very envious. Enough! Even if you have the physique of a god slayer, you can't learn magic so quickly. Su Mo in the fairy tale world looked at himself in other worlds with some laughter and tears. Leave the magic learning to me. I won't let you down. Yes, no problem. We believe in you. After all, it's me. I must be a genius. The other three people are very confident in Su Mo in the fairy tale world. The source of this confidence is not only because the fairy tale Su Mo learned elementalization very quickly before. Maybe he is also suspected of bragging. After he finished speaking, Su Mo in the earthly world continued to speak. The main thing I can do here is probably to improve my physical fitness in all aspects through upgrading. Compared to the fairy tale world, the special power of the earthly world is not strong except for the grace of God. Those magics that have no special effects and are purely powerful are not as good as the power of the God Slayer world. There is no need to spend energy to learn. In addition to upgrading, the only useful things here are various skills and development capabilities. I will try my best to learn them. Su Mo of the world of Dicuo was a little helpless. The combat power of his world is not high. In terms of magic, it is not as powerful as the power of the God Slayer, and the special effects are not as good as the magic of the fairy tale world. In addition to upgrading, if there is any special ability, it is probably only various skills. The adventurer's magic slot is limited, but the skill slot is not limited. If you want to improve, you can become stronger by learning different skills. Super strength, stealth, eagle eye. These skills may not directly improve combat power, but they can provide considerable convenience in many places. This is enough. Su Mo of the world of Tiga said so. It is difficult to further improve the physical fitness at our level. The upgrade here is already a very good power. Of course, it would be better if you can learn more skills. The increase in physical fitness in the world of Dicuo can directly increase the transformation time of Ultraman Tiga. Therefore, the upgrade of this world is very important to Su Mo, that's right. Su Mo of the God Slayer world also agreed. The biggest advantage of the Dicuo world is the unlimited upgrade. Even if the upgrade is not large at one time, it is still a very terrifying number if it accumulates. At least in the worlds we have now, the only one who can achieve all-round physical enhancement is you. After that, Su Mo of the God Slayer world turned the topic to himself. As for me, there is nothing much to say. It's nothing more than killing gods. I remember that in the original book, there seemed to be a few disobedient gods in Fusang. I should go there to kill a few gods later. His plan is very simple. After all, the specialty of the God Slayer world is power. I said before that I plan to continue studying the cosmic corona form. Su Mo of the Tiga world nodded and concluded. Now that our respective directions have been decided, we just need to remember to come and communicate the progress regularly. In other words, we can disband now. Su Mo of the fairy tale world showed a wicked smile on his face. Haha, I couldn't help but go back to show off. Su Mo of the earthly wrong world could understand his mentality very well. However, he was still a little dissatisfied with his choice of words. What do you mean by showing off? We are showing off in front of people. He changed to a more high-sounding word. That's right, showing off in front of people. Su Mo of the fairy tale world immediately changed his words. As expected of me, I am very educated. Then, the two smiled at each other. Everything is self-evident. The other two people on the side were speechless when they saw this scene. Su Mo of the fairy tale world and Su Mo of the earthly wrong world left the misty space immediately after saying goodbye. Just when Tiga Su Mo and Godslayer Su Mo were also preparing to leave, they suddenly saw a figure walking towards them in the mist at the edge of the hall. Is this a newcomer? The two looked at each other in surprise, and then immediately stepped forward. 048 Genshin Impact World, Teyvat Continent Evening. In the vast forest of the Windward Mountain in Teyvat Continent, two hungry figures were trekking with each other's support. Beside the two, a dejected little girl with white hair was floating in the air, her figure rising and falling with the wind. The scarf reflecting the starry sky also fluttered with the wind. Although I don't know why this little girl can fly without wings, but looking at her, she doesn't have much strength. I'm so hungry. After climbing a hillside, the blonde girl rubbed her stomach and then looked pitifully at the man next to her. Su Mo, we haven't eaten for about a day. Hearing the blonde girl's words, Su Mo calmly touched the package he was carrying. We've eaten all the sunset fruits we encountered before, and now there are only some mushrooms and fish pieces left. Although eating is necessary, we may encounter patrolling hillocks in this place. Let's find a safer place to light a bonfire and keep warm. Hillocks are monsters similar to goblins. It is best not to provoke them when you are not strong enough. Although he had no experience in surviving in the wild before, Su Mo still knew the 2 points of ensuring water and keeping warm. Yeah, the blonde girl nodded. Along the way, Su Mo's experience helped her a lot, so she trusted Su Mo's judgment. Perhaps because she was about to eat, her steps were much lighter. Su Mo almost couldn't catch up. Oh, is it finally time to eat? The dejected little girl, floating in the air, suddenly became energetic when she heard the conversation between the two. Su Mo, traveler, wait for me. Paimon is hungry too. The mysterious creature, named Paimon, immediately followed. Not long after, the three found a higher step. Neither wild animals nor hill people can come up, so there is no need to worry about safety. There is a stream a few dozen meters near the platform, so there is no need to worry about the water source. Although Su Mo is not good at rock climbing, but the blonde girl is very skilled. She pulled him with one hand, and the flying Paimon also hugged Su Mo from behind, allowing him to easily climb up the 5 or 6 meter high stone platform. After arriving at this safe point, Su Mo breathed a sigh of relief. The blonde girl finally relaxed a little. The two smiled at each other, then sat back to back, began to rest, and recovered their strength. It's been almost a month, Su Mo suddenly said. He was referring to the time when the two met, and also the time when he traveled to this world. Yeah, the blonde girl named Ing nodded, and a smile appeared on her face without much expression. When I fished you and Paimon up, I almost scared you. Chapter 35, she still remembered when she was fishing at the beach a month ago. Suddenly my palms sank, and I felt like something big had taken the bait. Lifted up, but they found that the people they caught were actually two people. By accident, the fishhook passed through the clothes of the two people and directly lifted them up from the sea. The first one to wake up was Su Mo, followed by Paimon. Thinking of this, Ing couldn't help but laugh. Su Mo, I've always wanted to ask one thing. How did you and Paimon fall into the sea? Even if you ask me about this, I don't know. Su Mo spread his hands. It's not that he was embarrassed to answer, but he really didn't know. Suddenly, I was transported from the original world. When I woke up, I suddenly found that I was hooked by a beautiful blonde girl. In terms of level of confusion, Su Mo was no less confused than Ing at the time. However, after learning Ying's name and seeing Paimon next to him, Su Mo finally realized which world he had traveled through. The world of Genshin Impact. To be precise, he is now on the continent of Teyvat. This is a world ruled by the 7 gods of ice, water, fire, thunder, rock, grass, and wind, and the laws of nature are supreme. In his previous life, he had played this game and had a fairly clear understanding of the background of this world. Therefore, Su Mo also knew that after Ying's arrival, the world would inevitably undergo a series of earth-shaking changes. As for me, I happened to meet Ying before the plot started. Together with Paimon, she fished ashore. But unfortunately, after traveling through time, I don't have any golden fingers, and I don't have any power at all. Therefore, during this period of traveling together, in addition to relying on hearsay experiences in previous lives to avoid several dangers, Su Mo basically had to hug Ying's thigh to survive in this jungle. Whether it's a wild boar or a monster called a cookie man, he is not something that he, with his ordinary body, can deal with. Thinking of this, Su Mo was a little worried. If you have always behaved like an ordinary person, later, there was no way to obtain the Eye of God. Then after that, wouldn't it be necessary to separate from Ying and the others? After all, the road Ying embarked on was too dangerous. If Su Mo forced her to follow her, it would only delay her and put her own life in danger. Su Mo has always refused this choice. He never liked idiots who couldn't clearly see their position and force themselves to hold back their teammates. Therefore, he himself does not want to be such a person. If you still can't master the power, it seems that when you arrive at Mondstadt, it's time to say goodbye. Su Mo thought secretly in his heart. Although a little unwilling, this is the best choice. As for the wives in my previous life's game, there is probably no hope of contacting Ganyu, Qiqing, Ningguang, and the like. The only one that is possible to come into contact with. In addition to Noelle, who is enthusiastic about helping others, and Barbara, who is responsible for treatment, it is probably Walnut who is in charge of the funeral business. Thinking of this, Su Mo shook his head. No matter how sweet Hu Tao's wife is, I definitely don't want to see her in advance. He doesn't want to die young. 049, Braised Paimon. Golden Finger arrives, he shook his head, not thinking about what was there and what was not. Su Mo, who had recovered some of his strength, stood up. At this time, Paimon flew over, carrying a small pile of dry firewood. Thanks for your hard work. Su Mo took the firewood from Paiming's arms. Phew, I'm exhausted. I can finally rest. After Paimon handed the firewood to Su Mo, he sat down on the stone platform, looking very tired. In this regard, Ying asked curiously, isn't Paimon flying in the sky all the time? Why is he still so tired? If you were tired because you have to flap your wings, then that's fine. But Paimon is obviously floating in the air. I don't know what organ is exerting force. To this, Paimon responded, my phantom limb is so sore. Then, she lay lazily on the stone platform, as if unwilling to move anymore. This Paimon is dead. Su Mo has already lit a bonfire. Seeing Paimon's limp appearance, he couldn't help but poke it and joked. Otherwise, let's use her to make soup. Emergency food must also play its role as emergency food. Hearing this, Paimon suddenly became anxious and suddenly floated up. No, she protested loudly, puffing out her cheeks. Paimon is not emergency food. As she said that, she kicked her legs in the air, looking angry. Su Mo, no? Ying shook her head seriously. As expected, Traveler still loves me. Paimon was immediately moved and flew to Ying. Then, a smile appeared on Ying's lips. She hugged Paimon and then added, Paimon is still too thin now. Let's wait until he gets fatter before eating. Hey, why are even travelers like this? Paimon suddenly panicked and began to struggle, but was unable to break free from Ying's arms. Paimon is not for food. You really can't eat it. On the other side, Su Mo deliberately muttered in a voice that she could hear. When the time comes, will it be braised or fried? I think braised food feels good. Ying also nodded and cooperated to bully this emergency food. While Su Mo, Traveler, you two can't be serious, are you? You really aren't serious, are you? Paimon suddenly became even more panicked. What braised Paimon? Fried Paimon? It sounds delicious. I should say it sounds terrible. She really can't eat it. Puffed. Seeing little Paimon looking so panicked, Ing suddenly laughed out loud and let go of Paimon. What I said before was naturally a joke. Paimon was the second companion she found in this world. No matter what, it is impossible to really treat her as food. As for the first partner, it was naturally Su Mo beside him. As for Su Mo, he quickly finished cleaning the ingredients. Although there is no condiment, we can only make do with it now. After a while, several bunches of mushrooms were grilled. It's too much, you've gone too far. Paimon also realized that he had been teased again. He couldn't help but glare angrily at these two villains who worked together to bully him. Then, he honestly took the roasted mushroom handed over by Su Mo and took a big bite. It smells so good. After dinner, several people gathered around the campfire to keep warm. Su Mo looked at Paimon, the self-recommended guide. It's been a month since I mentioned it. When will I be able to reach the location of the Seven Heavens statue you mentioned? Despite looking at the game, the area of Mondstadt is not that big. In fact, in reality, both grasslands and forests are vast beyond imagination. Su Mo remembered that it was mentioned in the game text that Ing and Paimon wandered around in the forest for more than 2 months before they found the Seven Heavens statue and arrived in Mondstadt. Although it was only a month later, they were moving much faster because of Su Mo. Logically speaking, it should be almost done. After hearing Su Mo's question, Paimon looked at the surrounding environment, recalled it, and said, "It should be here tomorrow." Tomorrow. His eyes lit up. Chapter 36. The seven deities are statues erected to the seven gods. Her brother was taken away by strange gods who didn't know how many years ago. If she wanted to find out her brother's whereabouts, the best way was to ask the gods. The wind god closest to here is the first person she plans to visit. Tomorrow. Su Mo's expression was a little uneasy. In the game, Ing, as a traveler across the world, has very special powers. Elemental powers can be used without the eye of God. And this power is only triggered when it touches the statue of the seven heavens. Su Mo didn't know if he could trigger the power of elements like Ing. If it doesn't work, I may really have to stay as an ordinary person. While he was thinking deeply, suddenly I felt something was wrong with the surrounding environment. Looking up, I found that I had reached a space filled with white mist at some point. Here it is. Surprised, he didn't take 2 steps forward. I saw an empty hall. In the hall, there were 2 particularly familiar people walking towards him. What's going on? 050. A surprise from my uncle, just an ordinary Su Mo naturally. There is no way to avoid the hands of the 2 big guys. Immediately, Godkiller Su Mo and Tiga Su Mo took pictures. Then it was discovered that they only shared the mental power and physical fitness of an ordinary person. It's so weak that you can't even notice it. Are you starting with an ordinary person again? Su Mo from Diga World touched his chin, which was not surprising. Among the 4 of them before, except for Su Mo from the fairy tale world, the others all started as ordinary people. As long as you plan properly, won't you still have the power you have now? What world are you traveling through? Su Mo from the God-Killer world asked the newcomer curiously. Well, after Su Mo in the original God world was stunned for a while, he noticed the information in his mind and then understood what happened. My golden finger has really arrived? Then he felt the power within his body and was even more shocked. And it's at full level right from the start? The force value of the Genshin Impact world is not particularly high. It's not clear what the laws of nature are. But on the surface, the most powerful gods in the world can also get a glimpse of their strength from their background stories. The rock god Zhongli smashed Guyan Pavilion and the huge layer of rock abyss. Wendy, the wind god, can flatten the mountains and improve Mondstadt's climate. The strength of this scale is not much different from the standard of gods in the world of Godslayer. Now for Su Mo, who has 2 powers. Even if he does not use the trump card of Ultraman Tiga, under normal circumstances, his strength should be above the 7 gods. No matter what, this power is definitely enough until the finale. Whether it's the guardians of the 4 winds or the crowd of fools, none of them have the power to resist themselves. After realizing this, Su Mo was completely relieved. It seems that in the future, you don't have to worry about not being able to participate in the trip because you don't have the strength. After calming down, he immediately answered the question of God-Killer Su Mo. I traveled through the world of Genshin Impact, and it's only been a month now. What? Genshin Impact world? God killer Su Mo was shocked when he heard this name. Tiga Su Mo also opened his eyes wide. Have you seen the coconut sheep? And cooking? In the real world, does the thunder element still stretch the crotch like in the game? Does the carving master still have gua sha? Suddenly, he asked a series of questions. Su Mo in the original God world was speechless. I also want to know what you are asking, but it has only been a month since I traveled to the world of Genshin Impact, and I have never seen anyone excepting in Paimon. Hey, is it still before the plot starts? Su Mo from Diga World shook his head regretfully. Then suddenly I noticed something. Wait a minute. Within, the world you traveled through actually has your sister as the protagonist. You're so lucky. In the Genshin Impact game, the protagonist can choose his brother Sora or his sister Ing. When Su Mo was playing games in his previous life, both his brother and sister had their own accounts. However, as a man, he naturally cares more about his sister. After all, those with long hair are really beautiful. And Su Mo, LSP. Well, I think I'm lucky too. Su Mo from the original God world nodded. Fortunately, I have a golden finger now. Otherwise, as an ordinary person, I might not have the chance to participate in the plot. This golden finger came just in time, although it would actually be better if we came earlier. He doesn't have to travel so long and has someone to take care of him. However, despite this period of embarrassment, Su Mo and Ing established a very strong relationship of trust. Not that it's a bad thing. As for the main plot, I remember it was the younger sister looking for her older brother. Su Mo from the God Killer world touched his chin and pondered. Korra seems to have said later that the brother and sister will not reunite until my sister has traveled to 7 countries and has her own experience. When the time comes, don't you want to give your uncle a surprise? Hearing the dirty talk of God Killer Su Mo from the original God world immediately covered his face. Fuck brother-in-law, we haven't even started yet. Ing and I are now in a pure partnership. Pure partnership? Su Mo from the God Killer world shook his head and looked at Su Mo from the Tiga world. Do you believe it? I don't believe it. Su Mo from the Tiga world immediately shook his head and asked back. Do you believe it? I don't believe it either. Su Mo for the God Killer world also shook his head. Who would have a pure partnership if they were decent people? That's right. You just lust after her. Despicable. X2. The two said in unison. Su Mo from the original God world was speechless, and he immediately raised his hands in surrender. Okay, I admit that I do lust after her. I'm honest, and I deserve praise. After hearing him admit his thoughts, the other two Su Mo nodded. As expected of me, an honest and reliable young man. As expected of me, a true gentleman who never lies. Su Mo in the original world only then realized that his face in other worlds seemed a little thick. However, considering the power shared by the two big guys, this little flaw is harmless. As expected of me, my strength is too strong. He immediately followed suit. It seems that no matter which world Su Mo is in, they all have the same commonality. 051 Alchemy and Forging. After joking, Su Mo in the Godslayer world brought the topic back on track. The power of the original world is mainly the 7 elements. However, ice, water, fire, thunder, rock, grass, and wind are all quite common powers. Whether it is the fairy tale world or my Godslayer world, there is no lack of this pure elemental power, let alone anything else. Just take the power that Su Mo has mastered now, Lord of the Sky. It has the power to control the power of wind, rain, ice, thunder, and snow. Not to mention, within the power Eastern God of War, there is also a white horse incarnation that controls the power of the sun and directly controls Yang Yin. Chapter 37, this almost covers more than half of the 7 elements. The 7 elemental powers in the Genshin Impact world are too common. Instead of spending energy to study these common elemental powers in the Genshin Impact world, it is better to wait for Su Mo in the fairy tale world to learn the corresponding magic, or Su Mo in the Godslayer world to gain power. Either way, it is much easier and faster than learning in the Genshin Impact world. That's true. Su Mo in the Genshin Impact world nodded and admitted this. In my case, if you are not the protagonist, It is too difficult to obtain 7 elements at the same time. Even if you are lucky enough to obtain the Eye of God, you can only obtain the power of one attribute. Compared with the Godslayer world and the Fairy Tale world, it is too difficult to obtain elemental power in the Genshin Impact world. Instead of doing this, it is better to leave the acquisition of elemental power to Su Mo in other worlds. I will study other more special powers. In addition to elemental power, the only special thing about me is alchemy and weapon forging. After thinking about it, Su Mo in the Genshin Impact world analyzed. We can study this aspect. Alchemy. Although in the game, there is only the function of synthesizing low-quality items into high-quality items. But that is only the most superficial alchemy. The actual setting is quite complicated. It even peeked into the secret of life. Sugar's skills and ultimate move are the results of studying alchemy, which can imitate the power of elemental creatures. Albedo, the chief alchemist of Mond. The alchemy he mastered can make dead branches bloom, and even involves the field of creating life. And he himself is likely to be a man-made man created by alchemy. From this point of view, the alchemy of the original world has also touched the realm of God. It should not be underestimated. The alchemy of the original world is indeed a good power. Su Mo of the world of the God Slayer agreed with this. As for the weapon forging you mentioned, it just so happens that we also have this skill, which is just right for you. He was referring to the development skill, forging, that Su Mo of the world of Dicuo learned after upgrading. I thought it would take a long time before someone would use it. Unexpectedly, it would be useful to this newcomer. Oh, Su Mo in the original God world was a little surprised. Then, he also noticed this power, and his expression immediately became pleasantly surprised. There is a forging skill. It seems that it will be much easier for me to learn this. If there is a development skill, I only need to have enough proficiency to gradually improve the skill level. It is much simpler than learning from scratch. Make your own weapons. Su Mo in the Tiga world touched his chin after hearing his plan. In this case, can't you make Wolf's End, Hapu Yuan, and the like by yourself? I remember that even bows and magic weapons in the original God world are made by forging shops. In this case, as long as the forging skills reach a certain level, can't you make 5-star weapons at will? The weapon pool of the original God is very expensive, and he never dared to touch it in his previous life. Now he has the forging skill. Can't he fulfill his dream in his previous life? Make a warehouse of 5-star weapons. All are gold-level equipment. This was something I never dared to think about before. It should be okay. Su Mo from the original God world nodded. In the real world, there should be no restrictions, and only a few types of forged weapons can be forged. However, the materials may be different from those in the game, and some precious materials may be required. This is understandable. The settings in the game are naturally simplified. In fact, forging materials will definitely not be that simple. But because of this, the upper limit of forging skills will be much higher. This is not a big problem. Su Mo from the God Slayer world smiled slightly. After creating high-level weapons, you can also sell them in exchange for enough funds. In this way, you don't have to run around all the time. Makes sense. Su Mo from the original God world's eyes lit up. He didn't want to run around for commissions like in the game, especially the kind of food delivery tasks that can't touch elements and can't fly, which is simply anti-human. If forging weapons can make enough money, it will also help with alchemy research. It can be said to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. In this way, the 3 of them roughly discuss their respective development directions. By the way, they also exchanged their previous experiences. After reaching a consensus, they said goodbye and left the misty space. 052 Fairy Tale World, Dog Licking Team Fairy Tale World. Fiori Kingdom, Magnolia Town. The #1 wizard guild in the country, Fairy Tale. After leaving the misty space, without opening his eyes, just hearing the noisy and joyful sounds around, Su Mo also knew that he was back in the Fairy Tale Guild. Lebby, are you free tomorrow? I found a delicious restaurant. Lebby, are you free tomorrow? The nearest clothing store seems to have new clothes. The voices of 2 dogs came to my ears. Hey, Sarusik, it was obviously me who invited Lebby first. Shut up, it's obviously me first. And Lebby hasn't promised you yet. Don't you understand? First come, first serve? Besides, Rebby-chan likes food more than clothes, right? Huh. No matter what, girls should like clothes more. As the protagonist, Lebby didn't even have time to say a word. The two licking dogs were already quarreling. The two magicians, Sarusik and Dorair, stared at each other, wanting to deal a blow to their love rival. The gourmet restaurant I chose has excellent barbecue skills. Lebby is too thin now. She should supplement her nutrition. No. Rebby-chan's clothes are almost out of date. You should buy new styles of clothes. The two young and energetic magicians were promoting themselves while attacking each other's choices. What the two didn't notice was, behind them, the girl Lebby originally looked a little embarrassed. Now, my face is dark. If it's just an ordinary invitation, just refuse it. But the words of Salasuk and Delaire simply hit the girl's back. One person commented on Lebby and thought she should eat more meat to gain weight. A man arbitrarily commented that Lebby's clothes were outdated and felt that his choice was the right one. Seriously, if these two idiots weren't her teammates, Lebby really didn't want to care about them at all. What are you talking about? No matter which girl hears this kind of arbitrary comments about body shape and appearance, they will completely deny the possibility of its development at the first time, although this possibility has long been negative and cannot be reduced. But now, Lebby is still in a bad mood, etc. With a dark face, she stopped the two people. I won't go anywhere. I already have an appointment tomorrow. He clearly rejected their invitation. In fact, regarding relationships, Lebby had already told them both that she had no intention of doing so. She is not the kind of person who likes to hang others up, and she doesn't want them to waste their time on her, so she makes it clear. They are just treated as fellow members of the Fairy Tale Guild. However, these two people couldn't listen at all, probably because he feels that if he is a dog licker, he will live up to the expectations of God, and he will have everything he wants one day. For a long time, I refused to give up no matter how much I was rejected. Lebby was very troubled by this, but she couldn't say anything else. Sure enough, after hearing what Lebby said, the two men were immediately stunned. What? Lebby-chan actually has a date. What bastard dares to steal a girl from our team? Chapter 38, that's too much. You don't take the two of us seriously at all. Who is it? We must teach that guy a lesson. Then, he immediately showed a menacing expression. He looked like he was going to use force to make others back down. I saw the behavior of the two people. Lebby was speechless and found it a little funny. Then he stretched out his index finger and pointed at the man sitting at the bar. Su Mo made an appointment with me to learn word magic from me tomorrow. Looking at you, do you want to challenge Su Mo? When she said the latter sentence, the expression on Rebby's face seemed a little narrow. Although her character has always been gentle, she also has a dark underbelly. And after hearing what Rebby said, Salasuk and Dorair couldn't help but cast their eyes on Su Mo. Then, Gudon! They both swallowed. They looked at each other and felt a little weak in their legs. It's actually that tyrant Su Mo? If we challenge, we will be beaten to death, right? The two of them suddenly panicked. In fact, before, they were just talking angrily. As a member of the Fairy Tale Guild, he would naturally not do such a gangster-like thing. What I said just now was just to show the so-called masculinity and to show off. Obviously, they don't know that this low-grade, gangster-style way of showing off seems very low to a literary girl like Lebby, and is completely negative. Moreover, after learning that the person who made an appointment with Lebby was Su Mo, they don't even dare to show off anymore. Talking about the scary people in the guild, Sumo's terrifying level is higher than that of Urza and Laxus, and he is a veritable tyrant. To say he would be beaten to death is naturally an exaggeration. In fact, Su Mo has a pretty good personality and is a very reliable companion. The two of them also quite recognize Su Mo. He even felt that the next generation of guild president must be him. However, if it comes to taking the initiative to be an enemy, Salasuk and Delaire were completely cowed. They would rather be scolded by Urza for a day than dare to provoke Su Mo. This guy, as a companion, is almost invincible. But if you become an enemy, then he really deserves the title of tyrant. 053, give the licking dog a hammer of destruction. Lebby, I suddenly remembered that I seem to be having diarrhea tomorrow, so I don't think I can invite you. Me too. I'm going back to my hometown tomorrow, so I may not be able to invite you. The loser does not lose the formation. Sarusik and Dallaire immediately came up with two excuses that made people want to complain. Then he withdrew his invitation dejectedly. This kind of practice of not daring to admit failure and subconsciously making excuses let Leiby be even more disappointed with them. You were so shameless. Beside him, Wakaba, who saw the complete scene, couldn't help but complain. Even he could see that these two people had no chance at all. Being timid at critical moments, what girl would like this type? Moreover, it is not easy to give in. You also have to deliberately find excuses to step down. As everyone knows, doing so will have the opposite effect. It makes people look down upon. Hearing Uncle Wakaba's words, Salasuk and Dallaire also showed helpless expressions. That's Sumo. Let alone challenge. Even if it's a competition, we will be killed instantly, right? They are very clear about their own strength positioning. That's true. Wakaba acknowledges this. He himself is a veteran A-level mage in the Fairy Tail Guild, but he can still clearly see the strength of the new generation. Sumo, the first person of the younger generation, is a fully qualified senior S-class mage. Not to mention these two people, even Natsu and Gray, who have the most potential in the guild, will go together. It's probably the result of being killed instantly. Sarusik and Dallaire had no chance of winning. So, are you ready to give up? Wakaba asked curiously. Of course not. Absolutely impossible. Sarusik and Dallaire immediately shook their heads. Wakaba was a little confused. Why don't you give up? Do you think you can beat Sumo? He was really curious. Wakaba's drinking buddy, Mikao, who was also an uncle of the Fairy Tail Guild, also looked over curiously. He also couldn't figure out where the confidence of these two people came from. I saw Salasuk and Dallaire speaking confidently. As love rivals, we have carefully observed Sumo. Then, a lot of solid conclusions were drawn. Both Urza and Mira Jane seem to have a special relationship with Sumo, and their relationship is particularly good. In addition, Lisana has been pestering Sumo and seems to like him very much. With so many girls staring at her, it's impossible for Sumo to still have the energy to pursue Leiby. Salasuk came to his own conclusion. Then, Doral continued to add, we have noticed that the number of times Sumo chats with Leiby is much less than the number of times he chats with Mira Jane. Sumo prefers to study his magic more than chatting with Rebecca. So, there is absolutely no love between them. Even if they meet tomorrow, they will definitely just study word magic, and there is absolutely no possibility of developing into love. The two of them announced their conclusions with confidence. After hearing this rigorous reasoning, Wakaba and Mikao looked at each other in surprise. After hesitating for a while, Wakaba said in a tactful tone that would not hurt them, I think you have overlooked something. It is true that Sumo did not pursue Rebecca. However, there is another phenomenon in this world called reverse pursuit, that is, girls actively pursue boys. You only consider that Sumo did not pursue Rebecca. Have you forgotten that Rebecca may also pursue Sumo? As soon as Wakaba said this, Sarusik and Dallaire were dumbfounded. How? How is it possible? How could Rebecca actively pursue a man? That's their goddess. Just when they were a little shaken, Mikao's next words dealt them a heavy blow. Speaking of which, although Sumo rarely approached Leiby approached Sumo many times. And, so far, Leiby has never accepted your invitations. But Leiby accepted Sumo's invitations every time. In fact, many times, Leiby took the initiative to propose. Like this time, Leiby also took the initiative to propose that she could help Sumo learn word magic. No matter how you look at it, it seems that Leiby took the initiative to approach Sumo. As soon as he said this, Sarusik and Dallaire turned pale and froze in place, as if they were petrified. How? How could it be? Leiby would never take the initiative to pursue a man. They subconsciously did not want to admit this possibility. Even if it's Sumo, he's just a little more handsome, stronger, and smarter than us. He's stronger in every aspect. Yes, just a little advantage. The two stuttered. In response, Mikao couldn't help but complain. You call this stronger? Chapter 39, isn't it a total crushing? What he said completely exposed the two people's ostrich mentality. No, Why are you telling me this? I don't admit it. Wow. Lebi my Lebi-chan. Su Mo obviously has so many girls. Why do you still want to join in? Salasuk and Duo Lar couldn't help but cry, holding each other's hands, as if they were brothers in distress. I saw the two people crying and unwilling to admit it. Wakaba touched his beard and couldn't help but sigh. How miserable. Macau also shook his head. What's Su Mo's saying? Licking a dog will lead to a good death. They should have looked away long ago. 054 learned to receive magic. Hear the conversation from the dog-licking team. The corners of Su Mo's mouth twitched slightly. After thinking about it, I decided to pretend I didn't hear it. However, the white-haired girl standing in front of Su Mo did not intend to pretend that nothing happened. Su Mo, do you want to learn word magic with Lebi tomorrow? Mira Jane showed a very gentle smile, but her eyes were a little dangerous. I remember you said before that you wanted to specialize in light element magic and not learn other magic. Why have you changed your mind now? Could it be that he wanted to attack Lebi? But if that's the case, shouldn't you give priority to yourself? Or is it that Su Mo likes Libby, the kind of literary girl? Thinking of this, Mira couldn't help but be very concerned. I have reached the point where I can elementalize light element magic. It will be difficult to go further. Su Mo didn't pay attention to Myra's eyes, but explained casually. Instead of further studying the magic of light, I plan to learn other magic first to add to my fighting style. Learn other magic? Seeing that Su Mo seemed to be serious, he was not learning word magic for Lebi. Mira couldn't help but become confused. Magic is more valuable than more, and you can't chew off more than you can chew. Isn't this what you used to say? Why do you suddenly need to learn other magic? Among the powerful people in the fairy tale world, there are very few magicians who become stronger by increasing the amount of magic they master. Whether it is the Holy 10, the 4 heavenly kings of Ishgar, or the further 12 shields of the holy saints. Basically, they are all powerful people who have studied a few magics intensively and reached the ultimate level. Even the Magic King, who claims to have mastered all magic, is actually only proficient in copying magic. Because of this, when he was guiding Mira and others in their cultivation, Sumatsai often said that the essence is more valuable than the more. I didn't expect that one day this sentence would be returned to me. Generally, that's true. Su Mo didn't deny what he said before, but he was not prepared to explain too much. However, my current situation is different and cannot be inferred by common sense. Therefore, I need to learn various magics to supplement myself. Su Mo naturally knew how to bite off more than he could chew. However, when he learned these magics, he had no intention of really studying them one by one. If you want to do that, no amount of energy will be enough. Su Mo's purpose was to roughly learn those magics with special powers, as long as it is usable. As for the subsequent development, leave it to ourselves and other worlds. There is a lot of magic in this world, which may not be of any use to you, but it may be quite useful to Su Mo in other worlds. You only need to obtain the seeds of skills. As for how the seeds take root and sprout, leave it to Su Mo in other worlds who are in need. I just need to share it in the future so that we can communicate with each other. You can quickly master many magics at an unimaginable speed. Not to mention, with the physique of a god killer, he can learn magic much faster than his previous self. The power is by no means the same. Therefore, even if you learn dozens of magics, it probably won't take much time. Thinking this, Su Mo looked at Mira beside him. By the way, in addition to Lebi's word magic, I also want to learn your reception magic. Can you teach me when you have time? Huh? Receive magic? Mira was a little surprised when she heard this. After reacting, he immediately nodded happily. Okay, I'll tell you whatever you want to learn. She had no need to reserve anything about Su Mo after all. Su Mo was not only the person who brought her to the fairy tale guild from the abandoned village when she was a child. He was also the childhood sweetheart who was the first to accept her and brought her up. They are still teammates who often go on missions together. A few years ago, he was the savior who saved Lysana from the Beast King and prevented her from losing her sister. These kindnesses are superimposed, coupled with the deep feelings of being together for many years. Don't talk about committing yourself to each other. Mira didn't mind at all, even if she committed herself to her sister Lysana. It's a pity that Su Mo has been focusing on becoming stronger over the years. Plus the reason why Urza is watching eagerly. She couldn't express her feelings, so she could only stay with him, waiting for the day when things would blossom and bear fruit. Thank you very much. Su Mo nodded and thanked him. Receiving magic is a special magic in the fairy tale world. You can gain the corresponding abilities by receiving the power of life, non-life, souls, and even gods. It can even allow people to directly transform into another creature to fight. It is a kind of magic with extremely high upper limit. The method of use also varies from person to person. Lisana likes to receive various magical animals to switch forms to fight. Mira likes to receive powers such as the demon soul and gain the power of the demon at the same time. Elfman likes to receive powerful monsters or simply receive only the wrist part to fight. In addition, receiving magic can also allow people to convert their bodies into inorganic objects such as iron blocks to fight. It can be said to be very flexible. 055 Su Mo. Is it actually Gitanji? In Su Mo's view, the potential to receive magic is not much different than the power of the Godslayer world. In some respects, it's even worse. Just defeat the monster and receive it. He can use the power of monsters and even transform into monsters. If what you defeat is a divine beast, doesn't it mean that you can directly gain the power to transform into a divine beast just by receiving magic? If you can defeat the god of disobedience and will not receive words from God, is it possible for me to obtain all the power of the god of disobedience? Even further, if you in the Tiga world gain the power of monsters or something by receiving magic, can you also turn into a monster? Or even transform into Gitanji? Su Mo is actually Diga? Wrong. Su Mo is actually Gitanji. If you think about it this way, it's surprisingly a bit touching, although I think it shouldn't be that simple. After all, receiving magic has its own limitations. But no matter how you look at it, the potential of this magic is huge. In the original work, the war concubine is able to receive the power of the god of time by virtue of receiving magic. This is enough to prove that the upper limit of receiving magic is definitely not low. Besides, the objects that can be received by magic are never just life. Elfman once accepted his own hand as an iron claw. It can be seen from this. As long as it has a structure and material that the user can understand, it can be used to receive magic and transform his body into the corresponding material. If that's really the case. Chapter 40, if you can encounter some adamantium alloy or a strong interaction material like the water droplet in the 3-body. Wouldn't it be possible to directly accept one's own body as an indestructible defense? If you think so, the uses of this magic are too broad. It's just unbearably itchy. Think so. Su Magong was ready to start learning to receive magic with Mira immediately. At this time, suddenly I heard someone in the fairy tale guild talking about Natsu. I heard about the appearance of a fire dragon before, so Natsu ran over happily. I don't know what's going on now. Fire dragon? You mean the Igneel that Natsu has been looking for? Your information is too ridiculous. Even if the fire dragon really exists, there is no way it will be discovered at the port. Hey, that's true, but the information is indeed this. I heard several people talking. Then he saw Gray, who had taken off his shirt at some point. Thinking about it recently, Urza seemed to have taken on a mission to defeat monsters. Only then did Su Mo realize what time it was today. If I guess correctly, today should be the beginning of the plot. It was also the day when Lucy, the celestial spirit mage, joined the fairy tale guild. Thinking of this, Su Mo suddenly stood up. What's wrong? Mira tilted her head cutely and looked at Su Mo go out for a little while. Su Mo smiled slightly. The gears of fate have begun to turn, and there is another person who pretends to be fairy tale and needs to be punished. After traveling through time, Su Mo has been living in the fairy tale guild. He naturally has deep feelings for the guild. The act of impersonating another guild's emblem and ruining the reputation of another guild is the most unforgivable thing in this world. Even the Dark Guild would not do such a thing. Not to mention, this person who pretends to be fairy tale is also a guy who sells women and slaves. In the previous life, there was such a saying, "It is not a pity to die when a trafficker kills his entire family." Sumo, who remembered this, would naturally not hand this guy over to the Magic Council like in the original work. That's too cheap for him, for such a serious crime. He was released after being imprisoned for only 1 year? Also talk about reforming one's past. How ridiculous. The laws of the Magic Council are simply paper. So weak. He must know what the real punishment is. Using our guild's name for granted? Mira couldn't help but frown when Su Mo said this. This nature is too bad. We must teach him a lesson. Even with her gentle and kind personality now, she couldn't help but say that. Certainly, Su Mo nodded, not gray out with a slap to prevent him from running around naked later. Then, the whole person turned into a beam of light and flew directly into the distance. After he left, notice that Su Mo suddenly left for no apparent reason. Most members of the Fairy Tale Guild couldn't help but shudder. Then, they all showed expressions of pity. After all, it was the blind one who actually offended Su Mo. The destructive power of this tyrant is no weaker than Guildarts, the strongest in the guild. Hope everyone is okay. 056 How to clean stains after turning into light. Su Mo arrived at his destination soon. Perugian port. Then, he immediately noticed the huge ship heading out in the port. Looks like I didn't miss it. With a thought in his mind, Su Mo disappeared from the spot. At this time, on top of the huge ship, the blue-haired man who called himself Fire Dragon smiled with malice. Welcome to my slave ship. Please stay here quietly until we arrive at Bosco. The blonde girl in front of him, the celestial spirit mage Lucy, showed an expression of disbelief. What slave ship are you talking about? And Fairy Tale. Didn't you agree to take me to join Fairy Tale? She heard that the man in front of her was the famous mage Fire Dragon of the Fairy Tale Guild. In order to join Fairy Tale, I took the initiative to come to the banquet. Want to know how to join Fairy Tale? However, Lucy never imagined that this ship would actually be a slave ship. The other party is obviously from the Fairy Tale Guild. Why would he do this? Snort. Hearing the girl's childish question, the blue-haired man smiled contemptuously. From the very beginning, I was just prepared to take you away as a commodity. Just give up. The younger brother next to him immediately flattered him. As expected of Mr. Fire Dragon, after using the charm magic, these women rushed up to serve as merchandise. I made a lot of money this time. At this time, the door was opened. On the deck of the ship, a large number of unconscious women lay on it. They were completely unconscious after being enchanted by magic and were manipulated by people like corpses. And these young women were probably wives, daughters, and mothers of someone. At this moment, they only had one identity. That was commodities, slaves who were about to be sold to a bitter cold land. It was foreseeable what their future life would be like, and perhaps even suicide was a luxury. And the reason for this result, it was not that they did anything wrong. It was just that they happened to pass by the street during the day, and then they happened to be hit by the enchanting magic, and they couldn't help themselves. In this world, magic is such an unsolvable thing for ordinary people. Seeing this scene, seeing the Fire Dragon with an ugly smile, the little brothers who were accomplices, and the commodities who were not treated as human beings at all, Lucy finally realized her situation, and finally realized the nature of the other party. He was really a human trafficker who abused magic. Tick! It was as if she was betrayed by her dream. Tears of resentment and anger flowed down her face. Is this the Wizard of Fairy Tale? Lucy stared at the blue-haired man in front of her with disgust and hatred. The guild she had dreamed of joining turned out to be a place that could even accept wizards like this. Her longing for many years turned out to be such a filthy place. The pain of shattered dreams and anger at the despicable behavior drove her to puff up her chest. There seemed to be anger burning in her eyes. Abuse of magic, deceiving everyone, and trafficking slaves. Muttering, Lucy tried her best to cry out at the loudest voice. It's really the worst wizard guild in the world. The girl's roar resounded throughout the ship. Unfortunately, for the blue-haired man, this angry roar was useless. Anyway, he was not a real member of the Fairy Tale Guild. Although the other party was a wizard, there was no difference between a celestial wizard who lost his key and an ordinary person. There's no need to take it to heart. Chapter 41 So, he just smiled. No one will come to save you even if you scream your throat out. Hearing his words, Lucy glared at him fiercely. Her expression was somewhat desperate. Yes, this was on the ship. There was no one around, and her cries for help could not be heard far. How could anyone come to save her? Even a hero needs to hear a cry for help before saving people. Just as she closed her eyes and was completely desperate, a strange voice suddenly sounded. That's not necessarily true. Both Lucy and the blue-haired man who called himself Fire Dragon were surprised. Following the sound, a black-haired and black-eyed boy jumped down from the mast and landed lightly. Even in the most desperate time, you can't forget to call for help. Maybe someone from somewhere will hear it, the black-haired and black-eyed boy said, smiling at Lucy in front of him. The moment she saw the boy's face, Lucy couldn't help but stop breathing. The expression on her face instantly became very shocking. The blue-haired man who called himself Fire Dragon did not notice Lucy's abnormality. He looked at the boy in front of him vigilantly, with the magic circle in his hand ready, and then asked viciously, "Who are you, guy?" "I am the famous Fire Dragon of the Fairy Tale Guild. If you dare to attack me, aren't you afraid of the revenge of the tyrant?" "Ah, I didn't expect to be asked this by a rubbish like you." The boy showed a surprised look and then said, "But let me tell you my origins. I am a member of the worst wizard guild in the world, as the lady said just now." So saying, the blue-haired man showed a puzzled expression. The younger brother beside him seemed to remember something and immediately said in a trembling voice, "Mr. Bola, this seems to be the real thing. I remember seeing this face in a magazine." "Shut up, idiot. Don't call me by my real name. Call me Fire Dragon." The blue-haired man shouted angrily, then asked, "What real thing are you talking about? Do you know this person?" This person seems to be the most terrifying one in the Fairy Tale Guild. Bow bow, tyrant." As he said this, the younger brother swallowed his saliva with tears in his eyes. And the blue-haired man, when he heard the name Tyrant, also remembered something, and his expression became extremely panicked. "Tyrant Su Mo?" He couldn't help but shout out. Because of excessive fear, his voice became sharp and weird. "Yes, it's me." Su Mo nodded calmly. Everyone present felt great pressure. This morning, my guild was still the most popular guild in this country. I didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, it would be known as a human trafficker and the worst guild, Su Mo said in a brisk tone. But everyone didn't feel the slightest bit of relief. On the contrary, the murderous intent that could make people's hair stand on end expanded at this moment. It doesn't matter if you have a stain, and it's common to be splashed with dirty water. Just wipe it clean in time. As he said this, Su Mo's eyes locked on the blue-haired man in front of him. Then he showed a cold smile. "It seems today's stain needs your blood to be washed clean." Everyone was instantly horrified. Then a wailing like hell sounded on the ship. 057, you should show up when you apologize. Half an hour later, Lucy woke up all the women who had fallen asleep under the spell. After telling them the truth, it took a lot of effort to calm them down. Finally, the task assigned by Su Mo was completed. She breathed a sigh of relief. Then, she walked into the ship with some trepidation and knocked on the door. "Come in." Su Mo's voice came over. Lucy then pushed the door open and walked in. Then she unexpectedly found that there was no bloody scene in the room. This made her pat her chest. Su Mo saw her uneasiness and smiled slightly. Some things are not suitable for being seen by others. I hope you don't think this method is too cruel. Hearing Su Mo's words, Lucy immediately shook her head. No, those human traffickers deserve it. I won't sympathize with them." Lucy knew it clearly. If these people succeed, what kind of misfortune will those women who are treated as commodities suffer? Moreover, with the other party's skilled attitude, this is definitely not the first time to commit a crime. I don't know how many people have lost their lives, broken families, and separated wives and children because of these human traffickers. Compared with the pain of these people, it would not be too much to cut those human traffickers into pieces. Lucy had no sympathy for this. She was uneasy about another thing. Very embarrassed, Lucy touched her cheek. Then, she bowed sincerely to Su Mo at 90 degrees. Her head was lowered below the table. "I'm sorry. I was fooled by this liar and misunderstood fairy tale because of it. And I said such excessive words. I'm so sorry." She was so ashamed that she almost buried her face in her chest. When Lucy saw Su Mo's face, she recognized the identity of this famous tyrant. She was a die-hard fan of Fairy Tail and never missed any issue of the magazine. Then, she saw that the so-called fire dragon didn't know Su Mo. Lucy immediately realized that she had been deceived. This guy was not a fire dragon at all, nor a member of Fairy Tail. He was just a human trafficker. So, seeing Su Mo's anger because of those words, and after treating the blue-haired man cruelly, Lucy immediately panicked. Although it was the villain named Bora who ruined the reputation of Fairy Tail. However, the person who spoke ill of Fairy Tail without thinking because he was deceived was herself, thinking that Su Mo was willing to come out to help her after hearing her excessive words. Lucy couldn't help but be very moved. In addition to being moved, she was also very nervous. Tyrant Su Mo was her favorite idol. If this idol hated her because of her previous words and deeds, wouldn't it be too tragic? Therefore, Lucy came to apologize formally with trepidation, hoping to be forgiven by the other party. After hearing Lucy's guilty apology, Su Mo laughed dumbly. He naturally couldn't have any opinion on Lucy because of that sentence. It was Pola who ruined the reputation of Fairy Tail, and Lucy was just a simple victim. Although she did not tell that it was Pola's lie. But it was too harsh to force this point in that situation. However, Su Mo did not intend to let Lucy go, not to mention her body. Just based on the other party's identity as a celestial wizard and the inheritance from her mother Layla, he absolutely had no chance of letting her go. The celestial wizard played a considerable role in the future. Just from the perspective of a tool person, she could not be let go. So, after thinking about it, Su Mo said, "If you apologize, you have to show some sincerity." Huh. Lucy was stunned, and then her face was a little embarrassed. "I don't have much money on me." Although she is a rich lady, she ran away from home. The money she has is all saved by living frugally, so she doesn't have much. "I'm not talking about money." Su Mo waved his hand. "If you apologize, at least show your chest." "No." Chapter 42. I mean, if you meet one condition of mine, I will forgive you. He almost let it slip, exposing his true thoughts. Fortunately, Su Mo broke quickly. One condition? Lucy was stunned, and then her pretty face turned red. Could it be that kind of condition? Even if Su Mo is indeed someone she admires, isn't it too early? After all, it should start with a confession, right? Just when she was thinking about something strange in her mind, Su Mo said bluntly, "The condition is that you must join Fairy Tail." Huh. Lucy was stunned, and then suddenly showed a surprised expression. "Can I join Fairy Tail? How can this be a punishment? Isn't it something she has always dreamed of? It's a reward." "Of course." Su Mo smiled slightly and made up a reason. "I want you to see with your own eyes that Fairy Tail is definitely the leading wizard guild in this country and will never let you down." "Yes." Lucy took his casual reasons seriously and immediately smiled brilliantly. "Since it is a guild that Senior Su Mo likes so much, I will definitely not be disappointed." The two smiled at each other. At this time, Natsu and Happy finally flew to the ship and landed on the deck. The ship shook slightly. Then, Natsu lay on the deck and vomited all over the floor. 058 Magic Council after vomiting all over the floor. After finally recovering, Natsu was about to go find trouble with the guy who pretended to be himself. At this time, the door opened. Natsu was about to say something, but when he saw the person coming, he was stunned. It's Su Mo, the mascot beside him. The kitten named Happy immediately flew over happily. "Flew around Su Mo, I haven't seen you for a few days. Why are you here?" Happy asked curiously. "Does the member of Fairy Tail here refer to you?" They thought someone was impersonating Fairy Tail to do bad things. Now it seems that they were wrong. Natsu also looked over here in confusion. "Of course not." Su Mo shook his head. "There is indeed someone impersonating the name of the guild and trafficking people here, but I have dealt with him." That bastard. Hearing that the facts were indeed so, Natsu and Happy were both furious. However, after the anger, Happy showed a look of pity. Although he is indeed an unforgivable villain, if he falls into Su Mo's hands, that person must be miserable. Yeah, Natsu also nodded. He must have been dealt with by Su Mo. Hearing what the two said, Su Mo was speechless. Why do I feel that your impression of me is a bit problematic? Am I a violent person? Isn't it? Natsu touched his head and said stupidly. Huh? What did you say? Su Mo stared at Natsu with sharp eyes. The smile on his face also became kind. Natsu and Happy looked at each other. Their bodies trembled and then shook their heads at the same time. No, of course not. Su Mo is a very kind person. Hey, I think so too. The two of them looked like they really thought so. Seeing them like this, Lucy couldn't help but complain. So fake. At this time, she had found her key to summon the star spirit. What is this? Happy looked at Lucy curiously. This is a new companion, the star spirit mage, Su Mo introduced.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.